Hello! Hello! Thank you for the happy birthday messages. Yes, I was muted. This is, of course, standard. Maybe I was just instead waving my head around saying hi and just mouth opened screaming. This is, of course, a perfectly fine greeting. Thank you for the happy birthday messages. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are we all having fun on a Sunday, maybe Monday, depending on where you are? Is it all good in the 40k psychic hood? Thank you. It's been, I guess, nice that Games Workshop has been like, oh, we're done with 40k for the year. Because it means I can go, good, I can actually relax. And I don't have to go, what's happening? What is this new thing? Why are the rules totally different this week compared to last week? It's crazy. It's crazy. So it's nice. People got thrashed. People are painting. Oh dear. I mean, the painting bit's good. The getting thrashed is not so good. Painting up Deathwing Knights is good. They're pretty easy. Because I got one of the free models that is a Deathwing Knight. Actually, I got two. So they've been various Deathwatch models, which is nice. Good fun, good fun. People are going to start painting again. Painting is good. Painting is something good to do on a Sunday night / Sunday afternoon / Monday morning. Yeah. Oh, the Deathwatch are fine. The Deathwatch are just not great. Sort of. I've been trying the new Deathwatch detachment. When I say new Deathwatch detachment, I mean it's the previous Deathwatch detachment with slight variation. Being able to do precision hits and you automatically wound on a 2+, and all of those wounds go against the character is nice. If you combine because it now works on critical wounds, not critical hits. So when you combine that with Hellfire Shells, then you get a lot of wounds against characters and they die. The problem is, like, 3 of the stratagems are just make gun better. Gun do more things. It's not great when 3 of them are just that. I would like to be able to fall back and shoot or advance and charge and not have to just ally with myself. Maybe have cheaper points on more units. That would be nice. Just change it from 100 points to 95 points and leave it as 100 when allying in. That'd be good. Teleporting around is still fun. Finding out I can teleport the basic dreadnought that is Inquisitor Karamazov is also fun. Because it's any Deathwatch or Inquisitor model. So that includes Karamazov. Yeah, being able to have lethal hits on a unit whenever you want is nice with the changing the tactics. And, you know, Armor of Contempt. Armor of Contempt's always good. So they're doing fine. They just do much better in the Imperialis Fleet Detachment, which is where I have everything scouting. Have you seen my video on them? I think it was closer when they came out. It was like, here's the Deathwatch in that detachment, their own detachment, and the Imperialis Fleet detachment. That detachment. Yes. It just plays like Deathwatch shouldn't, because now they're Gene Stealer cult. Everyone infiltrates. Everyone rushes forward, and we have 1 million bodies at the back to just hold objectives. I'm playing Gene Stealer cult, but with Deathwatch models. That's basically how it works. Yeah. What's the full VTuber model look like? You can see it twisting around and twirling in one of my shorts. I haven't got that many shorts, so if you go to my channel and look at the shorts, it's one of the 10th short I ever did out of like 50. Really easy to get to, and you can just see it, the whole thing spinning around. So it's nice. It's nice. The Age of Sigmar minis are bigger than 40k? Really? Huh. I don't think I've ever put them on the board together. I mean, when I use my Age of Sigmar models, they are old Warhammer Fantasy models. Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. 4-arm Deathwatch is normal. They're just 2 extra mechanical arms. Absolutely. Oh, I was playing Deathwatch Overkill again. That's like a board game that so few people got to play. Deathwatch Overkill. It's not just a starter set where you get Kill Team Cassius, a Deathwatch squad, and a bunch of Genestealer cult stuff, because it's like 16 neophytes, 8 acolytes, 4 aberrant, 2 pure strains, you know, things that can't make full units, but you can with conversions. And it just plays so well. All of the Space Marines feel like Space Marines, like you're wading through bodies, killing a million dudes to try and achieve an objective. The Genestealer cult are just piling onto a dude to hold them back. Yeah, it has really nice tiles. It has a good way of doing things as well. Just you move onto a tile if there's space, so it's fine. It's about the one time in the game that base size actually matters. And it does, like, line of sight isn't a problem. You don't need to worry about line of sight. You just assume to have line of sight if you're in range. It's great. It's great. Yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, you killed 50 Genestealer cultists, but they killed 1 Space Marine, so the Genestealer cultists win. Yeah, the Primus is dead, but that doesn't matter. We killed 1 Space Marine. Glorious victory for the Genestealer cult. Yeah. Turn the arms on for a day to celebrate. I tried different things with the arms, trying to get more like arm tracking and hand tracking. It doesn't work because it twists the sleeve into like this narrow tube, and it looks like I have Lego arms. So that's a weird thing. Games Workshop just did a video for pre-ordering the Canoness and Genestealer cult. Wow. How long has that taken them? 3 months? I think by now everyone has kit bashed their own. Yeah. You prefer the mono weapon units instead of the bazillion profile kill teams have? Well, kill teams can slow down the game with all of the different kinds of weapons they have, yes. Kill team Cassius especially, when it's like, oh, I have this bolt gun, I have a slightly different bolt gun. It was worse in 9th edition, where it's like, I fire 1 plasma pistol, 1 hand flamer, 1 combi melter, 1 melter gun, 1 heavy flamer, 1 twin bolt gun, 1 bolt gun, 1 assault bolt gun, 1 bolt pistol, 1 psychic smite. And I'm still missing a couple there. Oh, and a frag cannon. So, it's so odd, yeah. I am obligated to send 100 models to their deaths. It is not only a strategy, it's a strategy that works. Yeah. I've never really put Warhammer Age of Sigmar models next to 40k ones. But yeah, I just use like Warhammer Fantasy ones, which are sort of about the right size. Human in Warhammer Fantasy is human in 40k. Although I haven't compared like the new Cadians to say the older Empire Flagellants. I just know they match. They roughly matched. Am I huge or is Paul tiny? Paul says he is average size. So in that case, I must be 9 foot. I forgot that not everyone watches all of my videos and not everyone watches Paul, even though there is a big crossover in viewership. So when we were going on all of the bleeping stuff with Centurions, every time he said Centurions, I had to bleep that out because I can't stand Centurions. I definitely should have put that at the start to tell everyone who wasn't in on the in-joke that that is a thing. But I really hate Centurions, and Paul loves them as he thinks they are the best unit to ever exist. He is very, very wrong, but that's why there was all the bleeping in the video. Poor, poor little Paul. Poor little Paul. Yeah, it's a long shooting phase. Oh, I have played Mordheim. I've played old Mordheim when Mordheim came out. I've played the new, slightly updated versions of Mordheim. They're all very fun. The points are just very weird. Like, older Warhammer Fantasy points could be weird like that. Mordheim struggles with points. It's like, a sling is half a point. It lets you fire twice in the shooting phase. Light armor to give you a 6+ save is 20 points. This does not compute. Yeah. Yes, Paul is bad at stuff. You don't need to check him out. You can just check out my video where I collabed with him, where I dragged him onto the channel. Ah, thank you for saying happy merry Birthingtons. Thank you, thank you. There's not so much a new version of Mordheim. It is in about 2004, 2005, much like they did with Battlefleet Gothic. A bunch of the original developers got together and like, okay, here's the definitive edition of Mordheim. Also, a lot of fans were like, yeah, we'll take it as this is the version of Mordheim to play, which compiled all of the things from White Dwarf, because it was like orcs, there was Bretonians, but not really. I mean, the orcs weren't even really allowed to be in it. They had to be like brutal orcs. It was like black orcs. Because if you had orcs, things become more fun. And Mordheim was meant to be grim and dark and horrible. And everyone is going to like murder each other. I didn't go to Paul's first tournament. No, because that was way down south. And that was last weekend, I think. Yeah, because when I put the video out, Paul was like on the way to the tournament because he was talking about finishing painting his army in the video. He had then finished painting his last 4 models in that earlier week, and then he went to the tournament. I didn't go, but I like the idea of that tournament, which is 3 games of 2,000 points. Fine, okay, it's not my ideal preferred percentage of points. But they allowed legends, so I'd be like, I am absolutely going to take 15 super weird Deathwatch kill teams. Yeah. Yeah, so all the issues of Town Crier and things, yes, they got pushed into definitive Mordheim. And I think it's only available online as a rule set. But it's a fun thing to play. If you like Necromunda, you will probably like Mordheim. Although there hasn't been a new version of Mordheim like there has been for Necromunda. Warcry could arguably be considered the spiritual successor to Mordheim. But that would be about it. No, I haven't been to tournaments in a while. I've been to different events. I went to a different event yesterday and the day before. But that's a totally different thing. We'll see a future video about that particular event. What points level would I balance the game around? Well, it would make knight players sad, but 1,000 points is pretty good. There's a little bit of skewing, a little bit, but I find a lot of the detachments work well at 1,000 points. If you look at the Genestealer Cult detachments, the Biosanctic Brood Surge, the Outrider Claw, if you want to use the things that the detachment is focused around, so the bikes for the Outlander Claw, the Aberrants and the Genestealers, or the Biosanctic Brood Surge, once you've maxed out on them, you're still not quite at 1,000 points. So doing 2,000 points means that like 40% of your army is getting the detachment bonus, and that's it. So 1,000 points is fine. 1,500 points is about right. Tournaments used to do 1,850. Previously, they did 1,500, and I've seen some tournaments now doing like 1,250 points, just so it's like 1,000 points, but a bit more, and then they try and play that in 2 hours. It's painful when you do 5 games of that, but yeah. Warcry's not like Mordheim. It's Age of Sigmar kill team, but better. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have the individuality stuff. I mean, there was an online game of Mordheim, which was pretty fun, kind of addicting, absolutely brutal, because you never had a choice to save your game or not. It was you have finished a game, finished a mission, it auto-saves. It's awful. So if you lost people, they're definitely gone. There's no getting them back. There's no reloading a previous save. Yeah. Warcry is very different to Kill Team. We'll see. Yeah. I think it's about right saying Warcry is like Mordheim, but you don't get to customize people. It's like always having a starting warband, which makes more sense when you're dealing with physical models. Where it's like, oh, my guy's been upgraded to have a whip. I'm not going to change the hand, though, because this might just be for 2 games, and then we'll go back and start a new campaign where he doesn't have a whip. So you like pretend it's a whip, or you're writing the word whip on a bit of paper next to a Skaven, and he's like, what's going to happen to me after the game? What does that mean? Warcry's fun narrative. I tried Warcry a couple of times. It was when I had a Chaos Warband that just got murdered by goblins. Like, goblin archers like, oh, well, I rolled double 6, so that's 12 damage and I kill a man. Like, oh, wow. Yeah. Nasty. Yeah, there's some, I think, factions rather than anything else that make the game not quite work at 1,000 points. Similar to how there is no Custodes kill team. There is no Imperial Knights kill team. Doesn't quite work like that. Yeah, quadruple damage. Weird stuff in Warcry. Weird stuff, weird stuff. But they have some really fun models. I really like the vampires, the 4 vampires, which is definitely not the von Karstein family. No, no, definitely not. But they're great. They look really great. You could try Custodes Kill Team, but it's just Sisters of Silence. Yeah. They are another group that should just be put into Imperial Agents. I don't think they work very well outside of that. Grey Knights can be on their own. Sisters of Battle can be on their own. I mean, Deathwatch are just Space Marines, so you've got to pick whether they act like Space Marines or they act as independent units. But yeah. Otherwise, you know, all of them, stick them in Imperial Agents. Maybe Knights as well. Put Knights in Imperial Agents, put Custodes, put Sisters of Silence. It's all good. It works better than having to be like, yes, my army is 15 Custodes, and that's it. Ah, thank you, Blossom of Thorns. You've started a new Horus Heresy army. Which different... Well, it must be a Space Marine faction. I know there's new AdMech stuff. I know there's Imperial Army stuff. But which Space Marine Legion did you go for? Blood Angels is a good choice. I can't remember their bonus they get in Horus Heresy. I also can't remember their thing in Epic. It's different in Epic as well. Yeah, AdMech rules are pretty good with their weird, oh, yep, everyone's zombies and stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the list of things what I bought myself for birthday. I got a ring light so that I can get better face tracking. So if you ever see better face tracking, that's why. I have a ring light now. Ooh. I'm sure I got something else. I just can't remember what it is. I didn't buy any more War Games models. No more War Games models. I was like, I don't need any more. It's fine. It's good. Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is also alright. Oh, Crimson Cop was Underworlds, not Warcry, which was totally different. Right. That's right, because they're the card game version where you play cards, but also it's a miniature game. Yeah. You want to start Warhammer and get into Imperial Agents, starting with Order Hereticus and some Grey Knight Terminators? That's a pretty good place to start, yeah. Although if they then decide to stop Imperial Agents doing that in, say, the next edition, they probably wouldn't. But maybe the edition after that, you'll end up with a bunch of random units and like, I have some sisters. Well, then you pivot into sisters. And you have some Grey Knights, which, I don't know, put them on a bigger base, call them Paragon Warsuits. That could work. I think Order Hereticus box and some Grey Knight Terminators is a pretty good starting place. You get some Subductors. When I did my how to start, 4 ways to start Battle Sisters, 4 ways to start collecting Battle Sisters like 2 weeks ago, one of the options was the Hereticus box set, so one way to do it is like that. But will tactical squads go to Legends in 11th edition? Ooh, I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully they shouldn't. I think it would cause yet more outcry in the Primaris versus Firstborn things. They would probably need some sort of, yeah, this is our tactical squad, but in Mark 10 armor. That's a way to do it. It's something to think about. I don't think they'll do anything new with Land Raiders. They'll just be like, yeah, no, they can go to Legends or just be for 30k games because we have Impulse, big fat flying tanks, big fat grav tanks. That's what they have now, and that's your Land Raider. Devastator box? Devastator box is a choice. It's a pretty good choice. You get a bunch of heavy weapons. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know the True Blades. Yeah, the 8 models that are like, oh, we need to fight the beast so that we can fight the beast within. Yeah. The Repulsor. I am repulsed by the Repulsor. It's called the Big Fat Grav Tank. I saw them in the Space Marine 2 game. They were big fat grav tanks. They looked like Eldar grav tanks. So I was like, no, grav tanks are an Eldar thing. Maybe a Tau thing. Yeah, hover crate. Absolutely. Obliterating grav tanks. Oh, do they have the fly keyword? I guess they do. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that. You like the grav tanks. It depends when you got into 40k. Some people are like, well, this is how 40k was. This is what a Space Marine army should look like. Even on like the new Armies of Parade stuff that they're doing as a Games Workshop competition. Then people are showing off their 2nd edition Space Marines and be like, here is a Space Marine company and it's got some scouts and it's got some Terminators and it has a land speeder and it's got bikes, assault marines. There you go. There's an awesome Space Marine army. If it wasn't in Dawn of War 1, it's not a real unit. Yeah, exactly. I can sort of be okay with some of it. I'm okay with heavy intercessors. They're just too similar to regular intercessors. I don't think the Omnis Grav Pack people that are dropping in with massive accelerator autocannons are a good unit, but you never know. It's me, I'm coping. If you have a channel membership thing, then we have the cope emoji. Then you can use the... That should be on there. Do I have it? There it is. There's the cope emoji. It's a fun emoji. Yeah. Food delivers it Yahweh. Oh, I like that. Don't understand why heavy intercessors are battle line. Well, they're intercessors, but they're slightly heavier. I don't know. I don't know. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for saying happy birthday. That is sort of the theme of today. I'm just going to turn on some lights. Get that light for the face tracking going. It's strange that there's like the Imperial Fist detachment is like, it's the Gravis army. Sort of. But it doesn't really work. But there's no like requirement for it to be actual Gravis. You don't have to have everything Gravis. But you could. So there's your battle line troops, which you don't actually need to include, but you can include. Yeah. It's all of the... I don't like the monopose stuff either. I hate it when they're like, it's got 20 parts, but you can't actually put it together any way other than the one way. Yeah. Yeah. Intercessors are not that monoposed. They kind of... I've got the Assault Intercessors as a kit, and they felt sort of monoposed. You can do some good stuff with the arms and the heads. They're alright. I think they're alright. Yeah, you can make some decent stuff with them. Thank you, Twisted Nerves. Which has a lovely name. Thank you for the happy birthday messages. Didn't the Marines have hover bikes as well? They did in Horus Heresy. They just never really made it over as more than a concept into 40k. And then they exist now in 30k, but they haven't got 40k rules, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the Terminators are good. Land Raider, I think, is good looking. What would my ideal Christmas box be for the Genestealer Cult and Sisters? Well, you could have a look at my videos on the ideal combat patrol for Genestealer Cult and Battle Sisters. Probably something like that. Like the Genestealer Cult would have some pure strains, 2 sets of acolytes, 2 sets of neophytes. There you go. You have your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation. There's your pure strains, and then have a couple of characters. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just get the old combat patrol. There you go. That's your Christmas box for Genestealer Cult. I guess we are due, in theory, a Christmas box for Genestealer Cult, because they didn't have one last Christmas or the Christmas before. The Battle Sisters had a box 2 Christmases ago, which was like, hey, do you want to get Morwen Val and also a million Paragon Warsuits and a tank? I convince you to start a Genestealer Cult right on time. They changed the comp patrol. Ooh. Oh dear. Well, you could get the good one, or you can wait until the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine comes out with them. And if they're the last one, and if you're not in the UK and you're in somewhere like Australia or the United States, 3 years from now, you can get that Combat Patrol. I have no idea what this year's battle boxes are going to be. Space Marines will be one of them. Who's had a weird, strange thing? We've done Kroot. We had Kroot already. That was a whole Tau thing. They're not going to do Grey Knights because Grey Knights Codex won't be out yet. They could do a weird thing that's just, hey, we threw a million things together and it's another Imperial Agents big box set. Optional. Could be. Yeah, we don't know if or when the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine's coming to the EU. It should do. We'd think so. 10 brand new Space Marine Lieutenants, but what kind? Gravis Armored Space Marine Lieutenant, Omnis Armored Space Marine Lieutenant with an Accelerator Autocannon. Oh, that'd be so good. Maybe a Space Marine Lieutenant, but for a tactical squad in that kind of armor. Oh, you really liked the video on Crusade. Excellent. Thank you, Connor. Dream Christmas box for Gene Stealer Cult. Maybe you're like 5 seconds behind, which I've just answered like a minute ago. One of every kind of generation and a character and maybe a truck. Throw in a truck again. Centurion Lieutenant for Paul. You could do that. Thank you for the Ko-fi money. Thank you. I should really be listening to that like on a live thing. Then I can see it come in. It's because I'm not wearing headphones. It's because I'm not even listening to myself. I should do that. I like the idea of a Gravis Lieutenant. Emperor's Children box set. Ooh, yeah. I mean, hopefully they should do if and when they get a codex. At the moment, we're saying if and when rather than when. Oh, how many Rogel Dawns can you fit? Gravis Chaplain. You could just say, okay, if it's not Firstborn, then all of the Primera stuff is changed to just be the Gravis things. That'd be it. Gene Stealer Cult Drill Vehicle. They have that for the Mechanicus sort of... Is it Legends or is it 30k or is it just old? It was a drill. You could go in a drill underground. People like the drill. We could have that, but we already have Deep Strike as just a plain mechanic. Yeah. Okay, I should answer some of the questions that I got from people, because channel members have been able to ask questions. If you had been a supporter on Ko-fi and like on a subscription tier, you also got to ask questions beforehand. So I'm going to answer some of their pressing questions for my birthday. What are some other fictional settings that I'm a fan of? Oh, there's a few. I can be okay with a little bit of Star Wars. You know, I liked the movies, most of the movies. The 7th, 8th, and 9th movie I have watched once and I don't need to see them again. But they're okay. I like the idea of Star Wars. A little bit of Star Trek. I can enjoy that. The cartoony version. Lower Decks. I really liked Lower Decks for Star Wars. That was good. Because I had friends that like I meant Star Trek. I had friends that were super into Star Trek and were like, oh, do you hate this because it's like a cartoon and crazy and weird? It's like, no, this is amazing. This is the best thing. It's absolutely fun. It's not just Rick and Morty do Star Trek. It's pretty true to like the way Star Trek works. Yeah. It's good. I'm okay with Battletech. It has good lore. I like the lore of Battletech. When I've been on the way to a Warhammer tournament, I had someone who was navigating for me in the car next to me, just going through all of the Battletech lore. That seemed fun. I liked that. I didn't much like the gameplay when I've played Battletech. It's fine at best. That's about it. Yeah. I think I like Picard better, but that's because of the acting. I prefer, not Shatner. Yeah, he's like, I'm on a strange new world. It's like he's having a mini stroke in between every half sentence. And I feel concerned for the man. But he can act. And some of the old Star Trek stuff is like so classic that everyone else is borrowed from it. I'd seen it all anyway. So Battletech is okay. Yeah, oh, view on sort of role-playing games. I know, I'll come to that. Infinity has fun lore. I like the models of Infinity. The game just takes a bit long for the number of models that you are. When there's 10 models, I don't think it should take like 2.5 hours. That's too much. That's too much. Ooh, legit question. Thank you, Alekman. Do you think Games Workshop will decommission demons as their own army and integrate all the demons into monogod legions when the Emperor's Children comes out? Yeah, I kind of think that they will. Because like it's already been said in chat, having the Demons Codex when it's 5 armies or at least 4 armies in one doesn't work great. But having them separate as this is the Tzeentch with the 1,000 Suns, this is the Emperor's Children and all the Celeste things, it works pretty well in Age of Sigmar. And rather than, oh, you can ally demons but only these kind of demons, then it'll be different. Then Be'lakor, yeah, what do we do with Be'lakor? Do we put him in the Chaos Space Marine book? That's an option. That's what they've done with Vashtor, I think. Yeah, Vashtor is just in the Chaos Space Marine book. So you could do that. Or you could do like they have done with Nagash in Age of Sigmar, where he appears in all of the death books. Like, Codex Emperor's Children would have a Be'lakor. Codex Death Guard would have a version of Be'lakor. The same version of Be'lakor. I don't know if you want to do a Codex Undivided. You could, but then how is it going to work with like all of the other god faction things? Do you say, okay, you can have some demonettes? Do you just have access to all the units, but not the specialized attachments? Yeah, maybe. It's a thing they could do. I think it'd be a pretty good idea. I think that seeing how Age of Sigmar has gone, it's worked. Age of Sigmar has had this weird thing where, like, its second edition, really, was copying from 40k. Now, when we got to 3rd edition and 4th edition, we're finding that 40k is copying from Age of Sigmar. They're taking what works to try and make Age of Sigmar better. Like an Imperial Agent Soup thing? Maybe. Then what happens for the Chaos Space Marines? Where do they ally from? Is it that, yeah, they could say, okay, you can have Noise Marines or Demonettes from the Emperor's Children Codex. That could work. Or is it a separate thing still of, oh, a certain percentage of your army can be these random demons? Which means Nurglings. Often Nurglings. Yeah, Demonettes is a treat. Agents of Chaos book. I would like that. I would really like that. Then we can get what should be... Well, they're just throwing a lot of things into the Chaos Space Marine Army book, like the Beastmen. They are in the Chaos Space Marine Army book, which is a fine place for them. Traitor Guard, Dark Mechanicus. They're also fine in the Chaos Space Marine Army, because the Chaos Space Marines... For the way the Chaos Space Marines work, they don't operate like legions. They don't even operate as chapters. They don't even operate as warbands, really. They are mostly traitors and mutants and things, and it's nice that they're now representing that on the tabletop. If you want, you can do all legionaries. That's totally fine. But that's not how they quite work in the lore. Where a Chaos Space Marine warband fighting a Space Marine company, the Space Marines will be all Space Marines. Whereas the Chaos Warband will have a few legionaries that are potentially slightly better than the Space Marines. It depends which author you're reading at any given time. Either the Space Marines have gotten better over time and the Chaos Space Marines have gotten worse, or they're veterans of the Long War and they've been fighting for 100 years and they don't actually seem 1,000 years old, because that's not how time works. So it's interesting. Yeah. They do the monogod route. They don't limit the amount of demons you can take currently. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. We need to see the teacup and saucer. I have many different teacups. I have ones with cats on them, ones with lions on them, one with just funny patterns. One that was a map of the world, but then I put it in the dishwasher and didn't realize that some of the stuff just comes off. So I've lost like South America. Thank you, McFatson. Who's the most starved for new units? Definitely the Leagues of Votann. Because playing against the Leagues of Votann, it's like, well, you have one of, all 6 of their units. Their combat patrol has like 5 out of 6 of their units, not the tanks. They're probably the most starved for actual units, and they now have the stealthy people, which is okay. They need their jump units, because we saw them in their kill team set, and they don't have their own units. So we need them. Definitely Leagues of Votann. World Eaters and Emperor's Children and Death Guard could just do with their equivalent Chaos Space Marine variants. So we should have some Death Guard on bikes, some World Eaters with jump packs, because they should still be using the same legionary type stuff. It would work. It should work. And not just, hey, we have a slightly different kind of Terminator and a slightly different kind of cultist. Nothing else. Yeah. Then Monogod Demons. Yeah, the demons are okay. I think the demons are fine. I think the demons will work better if combined with like the Emperor's Children or the World Eaters, because then you make up the shortcoming of Khorne demons and World Eaters not having enough units by just mashing them together. It's a decent solution. Gene Stealer Cult, once you look beyond characters. The Gene Stealer Cult are alright, because there's enough variation between the kinds of units. I mean, we have 3 kinds of units we can make from the Acolyte box. Acolytes, Acolytes, and Metamorphs. So we can be alright with that. Robert, thank you. As a long-time Space Wolf, now sister player, is there a melee list that makes good use of Sacrosancts? I like the idea of Penitent Hosts, but Space Wolf Soul sends yearns for Pulp Heretics of Blunt Objects. Yeah, I'm glad you've converted away from the Space Wolves. See, this is the rehabilitation program that we can, appreciate. No longer a Space Wolf, now a Sisters player. The detachment that works with the Celestian Sacrosancts, definitely don't go for the Bringers of Flame detachment, because that's all about the guns. You can do the Army of Faith, that's alright. At the moment, I'm looking into trying to do, I did say Acolytes twice, yes, that was deliberate. I'm looking into doing an Army of Faith video. I'm just trying to figure out a way of doing it so it isn't just, it's like the Bringers of Flame, but with less outright damage and more the army rule, but more. So it's trying to get a funny way to do that. So yeah, don't use Bringers of Flame. Hallowed Martyrs works pretty well. You have a unit of 10. As soon as you lose one of them, you attack with +1. If you have a Canoness who has a Power Sword, Rod of Office, and a Plasma Pistol, then you can re-roll hit rolls of 1. So now you're getting all of the hits. That is pretty good. And then there is special stratagems that work with them. You could instead, now you probably want the Canoness, and then there will be one combat enhancement that makes her better. If you want to know what that is, I have a video called Smash Palatines, where it looks through the Palatines in each detachment and how the Palatines look amazing. You can do pretty much the same thing with the Canoness. Yeah. The Acolytes Metamorph is because we have Acolytes with Hand Flamers, Acolytes with Auto Pistols, and Metamorphs. They're separate units now. They have separate rules, even though they look incredibly similar. Dwarves in Space is the full extent of that army. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they were really powerful. People bought them, and that was it. They were meant to be like a weird ally thing, because this is back in 9th edition. It was like, hey, if you've got Space Dwarves, you can ally them to Space Marines or AdMech. And then it was like, no, they're aliens now. They just count them as aliens. Yeah. That's a thing. Oh yeah, so other fictional settings I like. Done Infinity, Earth Defense Force. How much do we love Earth Defense Force? The EDF games. This is the first game was in 2003 when it was Monster Attack. You're just killing ants. Giant ants from crazy B movies. It's all of the B movie stuff played straight. It's so much fun. They've just had the Earth Defense Force 6 come out. I'm going to play that at some point. Not necessarily on stream, but it's really, really good. Really, really good fun. Super fun. You think there'll be a new kill team for Sisters? I don't know. I would like there to be. But I think they'll just say, hey, you have the Novitiate ones. That'll do. That'll do. Oh, yeah. EDF. Anytime I've got a new computer, it's because I need to play the next EDF game. it is terrible to run on computers. So EDF4, I need a new computer. EDF5, I need a new computer. It was telling me like, yeah, your computer can no longer handle an EDF game, so you need to get a new one. So if you play on console, it's totally fine. Just not on computer. And what's wrong with playing at 20 to 30 frames per second? It's totally fine. You can cope. I don't know if you've noticed, you probably hadn't because, you know, it's a YouTube video, but all of mine are produced at 30 frames per second. Because it means the file size is much smaller, it doesn't take as long to upload, it doesn't really matter if, like, the mouth tracking is ever so slightly off. Yeah. I do know that particular funny YouTube review of EDF4. Yeah. The computer heats the house when playing EDF. Oh, it so does. And you get flamethrowers and you get to burn the alien. Super fun. I've also really been into the Alien franchise, like, for years and years. I saw them and I was like, this is a fun film. Oh, this is a really fun film. Then Alien 3 was like, no, this is awful and really bad. And Alien 4 was like, I don't need to watch this ever again in future. But the games are fun. I tried Alien Isolation. Everyone seemed to love Alien Isolation. I'm just not that much of a fan of horror games. When you're hiding in a locker and the alien is right outside, like, that's fun. That's scary. But then eventually you have to turn off the immersion part of your brain and go with, okay, this is now just a puzzle. Let's track the alien. Oh, it goes over there. It turns right. It comes back. It moves into a corner and stares at a wall for a bit. All right. So now I know where I've got to move. And then you stop, like, stealth crawling along the ground. You're just walking casually behind it with your legs kicking because that makes as much noise. Yeah. So they were fine. Most of the Aliens games have been fun and fine. I enjoy them. I enjoy them. You've only seen Alien Resurrection? Oh, that is not a good one. If you do Alien and then Aliens, that's fine. That's super good. Those are the two good films. Then there's the Prometheus ones, and now there's a new Alien sort of spin-off. Resurrect? Don't know. Can't remember what it's called. It came out this year. Yeah, but it's fine. Alien Romulus, I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Newest Alien film was actually good. There you go. So watch Alien, Aliens, and Alien Romulus. Alien Trilogy was a good Doom clone. I think I remember that. Yeah. They've had quite a few good Alien games. Sort of good. They never tend to be great, but they're pretty good. Terminator 2 series, you forget they have more than 2 films. Yes. There is that. That's also another one that, like, switched genre. So Alien was definitely a horror. Then Aliens was more of an action, sort of, with, like, elements of horror. Same for Terminator. The original Terminator film is a cliche slasher film. You have an unstoppable, horrible killer with, like, powers that no one quite understands. And they're able to resist bullets the same way that Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger and all the rest of them can survive. Yeah, so that is, like, a really good slasher film, but it is a slasher. And then the second one is an action film. Yes, I need to watch the new Terminator anime. It is meant to be really good. It is on the list. Somewhere. I have list upon lists. Anime was just such a good season. Like, the last 13 weeks, I have not been able to keep up with everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. Okay, I was watching 15 different series of the last stuff that came out, and I've still got to start, like, 3 of them. Oh my. It was fun watching how a VTuber went viral by leaving her stream on. And because it was like, oh, hey, there's me. That's my job, being represented in media and being represented actually pretty well for how stupid VTubers are. There's a weird clash of, like, here's the real world and here's VTubers. Yeah. Yeah, there's a Terminator anime came out. Should be good. I don't know whether it was a movie or a series. I think it was just a one-off movie. People think it's fine. That's alright then. Right, the next question that I was asked by fans and people who subscribe on Ko-fi. If you did want to drop money into Ko-fi, then the Ko-fi thing to fill up the bar up in the top, up there, is in the description, which is the Ko-fi link, and you can fill that bar up at the top. And it also means that you can ask questions as you do the tip, and then the tip will pop up in the bottom right, and it'll have the question on there. And while you can also do it through YouTube's own super chat thing, doing it through Ko-fi means I get more of the money. Either one's fine, whichever one you prefer, but they're good. Then you can ask questions directly. Yeah. So I was also asked what kind of books I like. Warhammer, fantasy stuff, books. Well, I really liked the early Gotrek and Felix books, like the 7 books that were done by William King. They were so good. Troll Slayer is great. Skaven Slayer is great because that introduced into Warhammer and Age of Sigmar Gracia Thanquil, a character that's continued to be around because of how fun and awesome Gracia Thanquil was. Oh yeah, and also Gotrek, I guess. Yeah. But those books are really good. Up until like the 7th one, which is Giant Slayer. After that was Manslayer with a different author. And then it was like, oh, we're fighting men, but the front cover has a wizard that casts fire magic, and it's like, so now we have to meet a wizard that casts fire magic and they're going to be a villain. So we do, and it's like, oh, he's a fire wizard, but he only has 1 arm, so he's definitely not the guy from the front cover. And I'm like, sure he's not. Sure. He was the guy from the front cover. And he was the man that they were slaying. Yeah, then they've had Elf Slayer and Goblin Slayers. They've done ones in Age of Sigmar, which is okay. I know the lore of Age of Sigmar is catching up. It just won't feel as deep as the Warhammer Fantasy lore was. Even then, quite a lot of the Warhammer Fantasy lore was very surface level. Like Gal Maraz, the Great Warhammer, the Warhammer of Warhammer, wielded by Sigmar and then by Karl Franz. It's just a hammer that was made by dwarves. There's nothing like magical, like it fell out of a portal or it was created by the 4 Chaos Gods to fight each other or anything like that. It's just a hammer. The hammer from Warhammer. There are so many hammers. I also like Fulgrim. Of all of the Horus Heresy series, I think Fulgrim is the best one. Because it tells, like, in entirety, the Emperor's children, what they're like, how they fall, and then what they're like after being like creepy evil traitor stuff. And it shows you in like one of the early books, the massacre at Istvan 3 and the Istvan 5 drop site massacre. You know, you thought Istvan 3 was bad. Oh, well, here comes Istvan 5. It's all right there. And then it's not like, hey, look at this obscure moon where 2 Primarchs fight and it ends in a draw. Ooh, wasn't that really distinctive? Like, no, I didn't get anything out of that book because nothing plot relevant happened. If it's anything where like, oh, the reason that Gilliman was late is because of all of this book, it's a footnote. It is a footnote in the series. Fulgrim, however, is not. Fulgrim is really good. Dwarves are built different and build hammers different. Well, yeah, that's basically it. That's basically how it works. Okay, now we get the controversial question. The one that's like, ooh, some people may not be able to have an opinion because of how recently they joined 40k. But which one is the best edition of 40k? With the person who commented saying, and why is it 4th edition? Well, 4th edition was really, really good. It got rid of a lot of the problems that 3rd edition had going from 2nd edition. I mean, 3rd edition was very fun. The army books from 3rd edition, the codexes, they were great. They were great. What it did have, though, was the problems of movement that had changed since 2nd edition that it hadn't accounted for. So you would start the game 24 inches away from your opponent. Pretty much all of the battles were just kill your opponent. So if you wanted to make a gun line, you could. You deploy like 3 inches into your deployment zone. Then, okay, you're now like 26 inches away. And your opponent's infantry, they move 6 inches. There is no running mechanic. In 2nd edition, you could march move because it was basically Warhammer Fantasy. So if an orc moves 5, now they're actually moving 10 inches, and that is their movement. But not in 3rd edition. You move 6 inches. There is no running. So it would take you 4 turns before you can charge, because charge range was not random. Unlike in Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar and more recent editions of 40k. Charge range was 6 inches. You need to be within 6 inches. So if you're 25 inches away at the start, you're not going to be able to charge until turn 4, and then there's going to be, what, 2 orcs left in the squad, and 2 orcs cannot kill a squad of guardsmen. Oh, and if there's like 3 orcs left, and you kill one of them, then they need to take a morale test because they've lost more than 25% of their unit from shooting, and they might just run away. And they run away 2d6. But 3rd edition was pretty good. It was also like crazy good for the combat armies because of consolidate. You would consolidate into another unit. And that was fine. You could just do that and the fight phase would stop until next turn. And there was no such thing as falling back. You couldn't retreat from combat. That was not an option. No. Yeah, I remember when getting extra movement from Eldar was their special ability. That was Fleet of Foot. Just for the Eldar and some special like Termagants. Oh no, Hormigants. Hormigants had Fleet of Claw. So they were extra fast. You also had, it was faster, but it was a shame that you had all of your unit, all the models in your unit have to target the same enemy. Split fire was a super rare special rule. So if you had a tactical squad, which has 7 guys with bolt guns, a guy with a plasma gun, and a guy with a multi-melter, you're gonna just fire the multi-melter at a tank, because nothing else can scratch the tank. So all the other guns get wasted. They can't shoot at someone else. You just fire the multi-melter. But 4th edition was pretty good. You just had to have dedicated special weapon things. Yeah, the Eldar in 4th edition onwards had Fleet of Foot, which meant that they could choose to not shoot, and then they got to go an extra d6 movement, which could often be like, I rolled a 1. Now I've gone 7 inches. Wow. Yeah, yo, you have to get them behind a tank, absolutely. I used to have deep striking units like Seraphim, Havocs, not Havocs, Raptors, Obliterators. Their one job is to drop behind a tank and shoot it in the back. Because there was no, like, oh, you don't have to be 9 inches away. You just couldn't charge. It was not allowed. But there was no distance you had to be away. You could scatter, which was, oh, will you scatter onto the enemy and be lost? Or delayed for a turn? Or end up on the other side of the board? Yeah, it was pretty nasty. Then the Necrons came out and it's like, hey, we, yeah, all of our guns do glancing hits. We can just blow up tanks for days. Yeah, Longfangs could split fire. They were crazy for the Space Wolves. And explosions and spinning stuff away. Oh, yes. There was a lot of fun stuff. Grey Knights came out in 5th edition, 4th edition, and they were filthy. It was like, oh, they're so bright and shiny, you cannot shoot them more than 24 inches away. They have like a 2+ save or a 3+ save. They're not going to get through stuff with like armor penetration. You need really good armor penetration and lots of it, which is not something people had. Yeah, armor rules, armor facings, they were fun. It's just if you're trying to have a competitive game of 40k, then it's harder to figure out. Blast templates could cause fights, and scattering could cause fights. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 3rd edition, you could only shoot the closest army. Yeah, the closest unit. Or 2nd edition? 2nd edition, you could only shoot the closest unit unless you passed a morale test to shoot something else. So that was another mitigating thing. I mean, that's fun. That just means guardsmen keep firing at the Gretchen in front instead of the orc knobs that are coming up behind them. And this is las cannon teams that are doing that. I don't know if 5th edition was a blight. I remember not enjoying it as much as 4th. I also didn't buy that main rules because it was so very similar. But I recently found the 5th edition army like rule book, and I opened it and it's like, oh, this is really fun. Here's how you have a fun campaign starting at 500 points, going up to 3,000 points over 6 games. That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you. It also had like, oh, here's a nice board, and it has 2 or 3 big bits of scenery, and the rest of it is open and has craters. Like, that looks fun to play on. More so than the boards we see nowadays, which are, hey, you know that City Fight expansion? Well, now we're playing that every single time. Every time. I think it got weird around 7th edition. I mean, 6th edition I liked, but a lot of other people didn't like it. Things like, oh, you take casualties from the front, not whatever model you want. Didn't quite mesh with people. It was a little bit slower when every single sergeant in the squad had the precision special rule, so they could choose which model was hit. So if you had a Space Marine sergeant with a plasma pistol, they could choose to kill the enemy heavy weapon person. That was fun. It's a shame we didn't get to do it more. Because then the editions started to get way faster. 7th edition, 8th edition, 9th edition. Yeah, we're just speeding through them. Then 7th edition was like, okay, so we're going to introduce flyers for everyone, which are overpowered. And then anti-fly stuff, which you need in the game, but not everyone would want to buy. And now is all going to Legends or has terrible rules. And fortifications came in. And super heavy walkers. It's like, oh, this should be fine for apocalypse games, but when you have a 1,500 point game and you have a knight with a super flame cannon that can just blow people away, it's not as fun. The introduction of knights was a mistake, so 4th edition may be good. 3rd edition was just, you kill the enemy, and that is the game. 4th edition really introduced actual missions, and it tended to be narrative missions was the only real way to play. Do a bunker assault, do a siege, do a river crossing. Any of these. They were good. Really, really fun. 7th edition then got weird, where it was like, hey, yeah, the Necrons get a bunch of free extra rules. Space Marines have as many rhinos as you can physically buy. Didn't like that so much. Start of 8th edition was really good. I know it was somewhat unbalanced again because of the flyer rules, but if you add like sub-factions into the start of 8th edition, it worked wonderfully. I was very happy with that. Then as we went on, it's like, hey, so you know those like 5 core stratagems you have in the main rulebook, and then the 3 you get in each scenario, and the 35 you get in every army? Well, there's even more in this expansion, and this thing, and oh, Psychic Awakening, and now you have access to all of these as well. Thank you for the birthday messages. Thank you. Yeah, I never really wanted a Helldrake. Helldrakes looked like they'd taken a dragon and ripped the front off, and there is no back. Yeah, 7th edition flying... I remember the... Hive Tyrant is like, I have the weakest guns, but it's strength 5. So I'm going to fly near your Exorcist, and because I have 40 shots, some of them are going to be 6s, and I'm going to do enough glancing hits to blow up your Exorcist. Because it was armor 11 on the sides. Really annoying. Really annoying stuff. I don't know if my eyes are staying open enough. Yeah, they're okay. They're okay. They're tracking well enough. Ah, 1,500 points of Razorbacks and Rhinos and on top of a 1,500 point game. Yeah, the Helldrakes do need tails. Ah, yeah, the spinning it, shoot wherever you want, flamer weapons. It was weird. Didn't like flyers. I never liked flyers or super heavies. I don't think it quite matches that idea of 40k, which is sort of like half a company, 2 platoons level, is roughly what you get as a game size, which is good. It works if it's all infantry and things. 10th edition is better just because initiative, which was always really bad for orcs, meant the orcs were bad with melee. Yeah, they would always have to like charge into Space Marines, lose a bunch of boys, but then they would have so many attacks that they bring down a similar number of Space Marines. I fought against orcs last week with Deathwatch. It went mostly well. Shooting them was alright, but that was because I was using the Deathwatch attachment, which is all about stratagems for shooting. when they got into combat, it's like, okay, well, you're the warlord, so my guys are actually strength 6 and they have AP -2. Oh, and I have sustained hits on a 5+. And it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, 4 orc boys just killed 10 marines. That doesn't seem quite right, but sure. Sure. Yeah, 1 power claw with a bunch of guys backing it up. 3rd edition orc boys were fun. 4th edition orc boys, yeah, they've generally been quite enjoyable to play against. An Imperial Guard being able to bayonet them is nice. Just now that they're toughness 5, it feels weird for Space Marines being like, oh, I wound you on a 5 and you wound me on a 3. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem like Space Marines versus Orcs, but okay. Okay. Oh, and the changes to armor penetration. That was a big problem with the start of 8th edition that wasn't quite addressed until later on. The changes to the wound table and the change to armor penetration. I like the new way they did it, where it's like, okay, it's easy to understand. There's no longer a cross-reference table with 10 stats compared to another 10 stats. It was, if you're higher, then you wound on a 3+. If you're double as well as higher, then you wound on a 2+. It's simple enough. But it didn't account for things like a heavy bolter used to kill a guardsman on a 2+. Now it's wounding a guardsman on a 3+, and you get an armor save because it's AP -1. It used to be that it was AP 5, which meant that anyone that had an armor save of 5 or 6 was dead. Well, you lost a wound, but that usually meant dead. So it meant that, okay, hang on. So firing a heavy bolter, yeah, they were AP 4, yes, but anything AP 5, like bolt guns, would kill a guardsman. Yeah. So it was guardsman just dead from heavy bolter. Now it's guardsman saves on a 6+. But bolt guns, wound on a 3+, used to kill a guardsman. Now, inconvenience a guardsman, potentially? And the points didn't quite catch up for a while. So, going into hordes of stuff was very, very viable. Because even though a Space Marine cannot kill 3 guardsmen, and 3 guardsmen could potentially kill a Space Marine, when they had 1 wound, this was the start of 8th edition, then it's like, okay, there's the imbalance. I got so much mileage out of a horde at the start of 8th edition. Very fun. Yeah, cover saves were very different though. That was just, you have an invulnerable save of this. Usually 4+, for like ruins, terrain like that. Woods would be 5+. And then you have to think, do I go first or not? If you don't succeed, throw more guardsmen. Yeah, I have been just drowned by guardsmen before. And I do like how, when you got to 8th edition, characters meant something more. Because there used to be just a thing you had to take. There was the force organization chart, which was 2 troops and 1 HQ. And people kept saying, oh, okay, the troops are attacks. Like, you have to take these troops so that there is something for your opponent to kill before you have, like, the rest of the army. Thank you, Brent. Thank you for the happy birthday messages. Oh, yeah, conscript platoons just generally were crazy. Yeah. What was I saying? Not cover. I got past cover. The thing I was saying. Where was my train of thought? The choo-choo is left the station. Bring back the choo-choo train of thought. Wasn't leadership. Wasn't armor penetration. Wasn't wounding. I was partway through a thought. Can I go back in my own video and find out what I was talking about? Let me just try that. That's it, troops as taxes. Thank you. Yes, force organization chart. Script versus no script, absolutely. Force organization chart. So people used to say troops are the tax that you need to have in your army so you can have a normal army. But I used to think of the HQ as a tax because it's just a guy with 3 wounds, 4 attacks, but he costs 60 points. The same as 4 Space Marines, which gives you 4 wounds and more attacks and more guns and can be split up and stuff. So being able to have characters and things that are actually good, actually convey some bonus beyond, I am so powerful as a dude, I'm just... No, you're not. You're slightly more powerful. Yeah, oh, if you wanted the 3 wound version of like Space Marine Chapter Master was 3 wounds. Space Marine Captain was 2 wounds. So I often went with, there was no lieutenants, but a veteran sergeant. Just a dude. He's 30 points. He's got 1 wound and is a space marine. Great. This is a squad of 11 now. There's my HQ tax done. Force commander. Oh, yes, force commander. Because it was veteran sergeant, leaders. Yeah, that was different. And then Imperial Guard was junior officer, senior officer, and heroic senior officer. Which roughly meant, yeah, it's a lieutenant, a captain, or a colonel. I would just go for the lieutenant, because that's fine. Have 2 lieutenants, there's your army. Great, that means you can make everything. Now, it was definitely 3rd edition. I could pull out the codex, but basically the cheapest version of it was, it was there was 2 versions of the veteran sergeant. One was a 15-point upgrade for a tactical squad sergeant to give them an extra wound. No, not an extra wound. Extra attack and extra leadership point. Or you could have the HQ version, which had the same profile but was an independent character and HQ. Yeah. 2 wounds was pretty standard for HQ choices. 3 wounds was a big deal. Yeah. It worked quite well having 1 wound characters when you were the Lost and the Damned, because Chaos Space Marines being a 1 wound dude for 27 points and you attach them to a mutant unit or a traitor unit, that felt very right. Yes, 3 wounds is your Lord equivalent. If you're thinking in Warhammer Fantasy terms, that's absolutely right. There has never been a perfect edition of 40k that people have gone, okay, this is great, we're never moving on. There's always some more stuff that gets better, some stuff that gets worse. Yeah, 3 wounds for larger games sounds about right, yeah. 100 points for a 1 wound Terminator in Tactical Squad was pretty good. I would put a Space Marine Librarian with 2 wounds in a Tactical Squad, because you could choose which model you took the save on. So if it's an AP3 rocket coming your way, I take it on the Librarian in Terminator armor, because I still have a 2+ save. There's no modifiers to the armor save. Darth Kersey just started Genestealer Cult Crusade. It is my fault. It is. I hope you have fun having the uprising take place very, very slowly. I think the Great Ordeal is probably I don't know about the best way to win. It's the more fun way because there's some cool battle at the end of it rather than just we rise up, we win. Or you can try and just spread Genestealers out into space. If you're not trying to do a, yes, I have controlled my planet now, or controlled my local town, city, whatever, sending Genestealer cults out into the space is the more fun version. Remember how you had a point tax for weapon upgrades or gear upgrades? Yes, I do. And I kind of missed that. Because then you could say, okay, the Flamer is fine. The Plasma Gun is better. Therefore, the Plasma Gun costs more points than a Flamer. Yeah. I would lose the 2 wound model if I rolled a 1, yes, because of instant death. If the strength of the attack was twice your toughness, rather than wounding on a 2+, like it does in 10th edition, yes, it would still wound on a 2+, but it would also cause instant death. So regardless of the number of wounds you had, you died. So I think the Phoenix Lords at some point didn't have that when they really needed to, because if you're toughness 3, a plasma pistol can cause instant death. An Imperial Guardsman with a power fist causes instant death. Yeah. I didn't much like the 2nd edition cards, where it's war gear cards, but it was a nice way of saying, hey, this guy has got this thing, we can tell because there's a card next to the model the whole game. I think plasma guns have always been really good in 40k. Basically a go-to for everyone. Yes. Yes. A lot of people like 9th edition. I got really tired of 9th edition when we were switching between armies. It's like, okay, now I need to unlearn these 57 stratagems and relearn these 57 stratagems, plus the 8 special rules that you need to know to be a Space Marine, then the 2 sub-faction special rules, then the army all Space Marine special rule, which comes in 3 parts. It was tiresome. And then you'd forget rules so very easily, and you'd feel stupid that like, oh, if I just used that stratagem, I would have won the game. But I didn't know that stratagem even existed. Yeah. I would like to see War Gear points back so we have more granular stuff. Yes. It wasn't... I like the... It eventually grew on me the way they did it at the end of 9th edition. Although they didn't do it for Battle Sisters, so we had terrible points at the end of 9th edition. but it was like, okay, these are perfectly fine weapon upgrades. You want to have a flamer? It's 0 points, 1 per squad. You want to have a grenade launcher? It's 0 points, 1 per squad. Then it's not like, okay, everyone needs to have auto guns or las guns, nothing special for you because your job is to be grunts. It still let them have that. So you could build them as like the cool version from the box and not just be like, okay, here I go, painting another 20 neophytes with auto guns. So they were like 0 points for a flamer or a grenade launcher, and then it's 10 points for a mining laser, because a mining laser does stuff. I wouldn't be like, well, No, I wouldn't want to take points off if it's not as good. Just, this is an upgrade that is 0 points. Like the flamers or the melters and stuff. If they find that, oh, okay, Imperial Guard squad, if you have a las pistol on the sergeant, yeah, that costs 0 points. Because a bolt pistol, very little difference, mild difference, you know, it's 1 extra strength. It will matter in a very small number of cases. Make it 1 point if you want to go that granular. Or a plasma pistol is 5 points because a plasma pistol is just so much better. Strength 7 changed, yeah. It was okay. Yeah, penal squads, just throw penal squads at people. Then they got really good in 5th edition, and you just took penal legions over regular guardsmen. Like, oh wait, these lasguns have assault? Yeah, let's do that. One benefit to free war gear is you no longer have to magnetize everything. Yeah, yeah. But then we have the alien complaint. The Tau don't have special weapons in their breacher squads. The Tyranids, apart from now the Termagants, don't have special weapons in their squads. Necrons have no special Gauss weapon. There's no 2 people with like a super special Gauss thing. Yeah. So then you get them complaining, which they complain about like, grenades! Grenades don't work for us. We don't have grenades. We can't do tank shock because we don't have tanks. We have monsters. But I do also think that the old combi weapons were fun. It's just then, I built it wrong. I put the wrong top on the combi weapon. This is a combi flamer and now combi plasmas are the meta, or combi melter. Melter got way too good in 8th edition. It's like, it's random damage. Yeah, so I just killed your war boss with 1 shot. Don't know if it's meant to do that, but it did. So it was in like 9th edition. Well, 9th edition tanks were awful. But we'll see. They were okay now. They're survivable. Melter weapons have gone from fighting tanks when they should just have I would be fine with them lowering the profile to like strength 6. And then saying, okay, it's anti-tank, anti-monster. That'll work. Then it actually works against its intended target. Because right now, you use it to kill Terminators. You don't use it to kill tanks. That's one way of doing it. It's a perfectly fine way of doing it. Yeah, build your combi weapons with what looks nice. Like the Battle Sister Combi Flamer looks alright. I like the Condemner Bolt Gun just best. Because that's a really cool one. Tanks have been a weird thing. Like, tanks are something else that struggles to work in 40k, which is a 2 platoon level game. Light tanks are alright, but when you get a Land Raider, and I hated playing against Imperial Guard. I just hated it. It's like, hey, I have this Lehman Russ. I've killed your 1 anti-tank squad, your Havocs or your Dreadnought. What are you going to do now? Do you just want to concede the game? Because you now cannot beat my 3 tanks. Nothing you do can hurt them. It varied on the edition. Sometimes it's like, but I have a power fist and a power maul, and that can cause glancing wounds, and then I can break your tank that way. It was okay, sometimes. I think 5th edition was a way of doing it badly. 6th edition, 7th edition varied on the damage tables as well. One was good, one was not. Yeah, melter bombs were good, but then it's like, I need to put 10 points melter bombs onto everything, and then I find out I'm fighting a Tyranid horde, and I've just wasted 100 points on melter bombs. Yeah. Thank you, ZB. Thank you. Thank you for the happy birthday things. I don't like 2+ invulnerable saves even now in 10th edition. Like, oh, here's Makari, and the Dark Eldar Archon has a 2+ invulnerable save. They're both things that go away once you failed them once, but they're so annoying, and you have to roll them individually one at a time. That tip money. It says it's tip money. Ooh, it is tip money. Someone just supported me. Thank you, anonymous person. You started 40k this year with Nids and Sisters. I am the first go-to stop for all Sisters of Battle stuff. I'm so glad. I will have more Sisters of Battle videos. I looked at my analytics and stuff, and it was basically telling me, YouTube was like, hey, so listen, if you just did one long Battle Sisters video every 2 days, it would be great for you. But I can't do one long Battle Sister video every 2 days. It's not possible. And I don't think people would want to watch like an hour of Battle Sisters every 2 days. It would be painful. People would start dropping off. So I like doing the mix I'm doing. And with nothing new for 40k coming out for a while, like for several months, it's meant I can get through my back catalogue of, this is a really interesting thing to talk about with the game that I want to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it. So that's what we can look forward to in the next week. And then we'll see about more Sisters things. Whether I do more general Sisters or I just pick a detachment and go with it. There's either way to do it. I could do individual like units again, looking at them through all the different detachments. But I've done that already for all the different units, and it's very similar to how it worked before. Nothing major changed since the Battle Sister Codex has come out. Do I remember when Terminators saved on a 2d6, but also had a 3+ armor save? Yes! Yes, I do. They were so annoying. It was like, yeah, I've got nothing to fight this. Or you have Genestealer Occult Claws, which are like, yeah, this is AP -6. Like, oh, okay. Great. Yeah, so you're looking at orcs on an 8+ save. You roll 2d6 to try and save an orc. But then AP -6 claws, like, hey, yeah, no, orcs just die. Terminators are like, okay, now you're saving on a 9 on 2d6, but still only have 1 wound. It was interesting. I didn't like that about 2nd edition, though, where it could be like, I play Terminators, so I win, because you don't have enough cannons to kill me. Could be weird, 2nd edition. Yeah. It felt like Warhammer Fantasy was better at that time, even though 2nd edition was an okay introduction to 40k, as long as you didn't get weird with it. Oh yeah, you need assault marines with melter bombs. Oh yeah. Hey, we're space marines and we're getting glancing hits on the 6s, and now we're just melting through all of the different tanks. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Retribute is still not worth it. I still don't think Retributors are worth it. I've tried them a bit, and I generally find Dominions are cheaper, you get more bodies, and they do the same thing, or better. If you want the bigger guns, like a multi-melter, get an Immolator. Put Battle Sisters in it. Then you have 2 or twin multi-melter on your Immolator, and you have another and then you have another multi-melter in the Battle Sister squad, and a melter gun, and a combi weapon. So I wouldn't go with Retributors still. They've gotten better, but there's nothing like, oh yeah, we're so good in this detachment, because they're not. You can try and make them good in the Bringers of Flame, then they're strength 7 heavy flamers, but the 1 extra strength doesn't do that much. You'll want to go with multi-melters, and at that point, there are cheaper melter options like Dominions. Dominions are just really good. Go with Dominions. Compare Sisters units to other army equivalents. I don't know what people would get out of that other than, yeah, the Sisters are amazing. It would just feel kind of mean to other things like, hey, look at these Battle Sisters, aren't as good as your Battle Sisters. Ha, take that. Yeah. Oh yeah, Overwatch with heavy flamers or flamers. Strength 6 flamers on Dominion squads. That's all you need. Rather than strength 6 heavy flamers in any detachment, strength 6 strength 6 Ministorum Flamers in the Bringers of Flame detachment on Dominions does the same thing and cheaper. And you get reactive move, and there's 10 of them. Yeah, you can give Terminators jump packs as a thing in 2nd edition. Maybe. There may have been a rule eventually to say that's not allowed. You've got to keep up with all the White Dwarfs as well. There was no proper way of doing it. Ooh, hello. That's a tip money. Thank you very much for that. Didn't want to put a message, but thank you very, very much for the birthday money. Aww, you guys giving money and making me be able to live. Thank you. That's very nice and appreciated. I was just a little bit behind on like August money, because in August, all of you go on holiday and stop watching YouTube. And people are like, oh yeah, I don't give tip money because I'm not around. I'm spending holiday money. I don't watch YouTube because, understandably, you're having fun on holiday. You're not sitting around to watch multi-hour Sisters of Battle videos. So there was a dip, which is awkward. But it's picking back up now, which is good. And it should pick up again continually. Yeah, good times, good times. Holidays, well, if you get them. If you get them. People doing YouTube do not. No. Where was I? If I went for Space Marine Legions, Chaos Space Marines, what Legions do I go for? I have Chaos Space Marines. I play a variant of the Black Legion, but with silver trim rather than gold trim, because I think that looks better. And I had a lot more silver paint than gold paint, because gold paint only really got good when the Sigmarines came out and you had that Retributor armor color. Otherwise, gold was not a nice color to paint. Whereas silvers, there were so many good silvers to paint, so I went with them. Black Legion, pretty general. I'm not a fan of the Night Lords and their weird, we're Batman, but justice, but murder. No, it's not. Just, you skin people for fear. You know that you're the Scarecrow, you're not Batman. There's no beating about the bush with that. And the Death Guard are too plaguey. Emperor's Children are kind of fun, but I've moved on from Slanesh. I had a temporary thing with Khorne, a temporary thing with Slanesh. I'm now just not liking the Chaos Gods. So it can't be any of the Chaos Gods. I have Khorne Berserkers because back in the day, that's what you got in the Chaos Space Marine Battle Force. It was 10... Well, they weren't quite monopose, but the body and the head were one piece. Chaos Space Marines. They were good. Well, they were alright. And you got the Khorne Berserkers. 12 Khorne Berserkers and 4 bikes. And I think that was the whole set. That was the Combat Patrol. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah. So them. So Khorne Berserkers, so I had some Khorne stuff. Then Iron Warriors, I've never liked. Alpha Legion are okay. I can play Alpha Legion. It just, people get bogged down in the... are they evil? Are they good? Are they working for the Emperor? Are they not? Are they mind controlled? Is it a chip in their brain? How do clones work in the Clone Wars? It's that kind of thing. And I get sick of that. Just be traitors, but don't use demons, which is fine. So I don't like the Word Bearers either, because they're all about the demons. Is that all of them? That's the 5 different kinds of worshipping gods. And 1, 2, 3... that's all of them? I think that's all of them, unless I've missed a legion. So I don't have a favorite legion, but Black Legion is fine, as long as you're not following Abaddon into failure. Yeah, is the Ordo Hereticus box a good place to start collecting sisters? I think it is a pretty good way to start, and I even did a video about that with 4 ways to start collecting it. It's worth checking out. And yes, it is a good way to start sisters. Just make the subductors, well, the Judge Dredd people, build them with shields, and then if you want, you can have sacrosancts. That works. From the Genestealer cult range, what is best against a Reaver Titan? I've fought against a Warhound Titan before. The demo chargers don't really do it anymore, but an Abonant's Hammer is pretty good. Or you can throw loads of Genestealers at them with a Patriarch and do as many devastating wounds as you can. Ah, thank you, Sucrose. Thank you. That's appreciated. Yeah. How can I explain Tyranids versus Gene Stealers lore-wise and it makes sense? Well, it could be that the Tyranids have landed on the planet and now has come the Great Betrayal where they try and eat the Gene Stealer cult. That is always the way that it tends to work. There's always a time when Gene Stealers, if they're Gene Stealer cults, if successful, and then the Tyranids come, will get eaten by the Tyranids. So it's very much a canon thing. Or it could be they're from a different hive fleet and don't recognize the Gene Stealer cult. That's another way of doing it. Yeah, if I could make a new unit or bring back an old one for my birthday, what would it be? Celestians with guns, Dominica pattern drop pods, them, otherwise Battle Sister snipers. I think we could do with some Holy Battle Sister snipers where we pray for the bullet to hit. Am I the only 40k YouTuber not currently streaming Space Marine 2? Probably. Yeah. I did some Space Marine 2 shorts. I did a little compilation of all of the battle scenes. Very little traction. So since I talk about the tabletop, I'll stick to the tabletop. And then other people who are like, hey, I do all of the 40k stuff, or they do 40k lore, and then they'll say, hey, look at this Space Marine, look how it's not lore accurate. That sort of thing. Yes. Hello, Zerota. What time is it for you? It must be sometime in the darkness. Or is it? It's not daytime, is it? It's not like 6 a.m. for you, is it? It could be. I don't know. I'll have to check. Yeah. Yeah, the 1998 Berserkers are good. They were good. Nurgle one's good. People like the Word Bearers because of disease. Yeah, Gene Stealer Orcs. Gene Stealer Orcs could come back from 2nd edition. They have some really nice art of Gene Stealer Orcs. It's just trying to figure out and explain that it doesn't work after like 2 generations. Ah, it's very early. Nice of you to drop by, Zerota. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we need church drop pods. But the Gene Stealer cult Orcs, because they reproduce with spores, you can infect an orc, and then the spores that it releases will turn into fungi that will create a orc Gene Stealer hybrid 1st generation. Maybe that one will then spore off into like 2nd generation orc hybrid, but after that you're getting an orc, and then the orc physiology, it just stays orc. So you only really get small Gene Stealer cults within orcs. They're not quite human, because like the 3rd generation can pass as human. The 3rd generation of orcs, they're just orcs. Which means that their 4th generation isn't a 4th generation, it's orcs. Yeah, you could count them as metamorphs if you wanted to use them. Have orc knobs that are aberrants. Weird, yeah, that could work. Orc knobs, aberrants. I mean, depends if you want to use the orc rules or the Gene Stealer cult rules. Either is an option, but you'd want to go heavy on the acolytes and the aberrants if you're doing a Gene Stealer cult army rules, but you're representing orc hybrids. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Oh, got a question. What is my favorite model? Both Gene Stealer cult and Adeptus Sororitas. I might need to just look at the Games Workshop web store for a second. Gene Stealer cults range. There must be one place to go where I can just click on it. Gene Stealer cult models. Here's the list. Brood Brothers look okay, but it's just an upgrade sprue. I don't like the Benefactors. The Reductus Saboteur looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the Gene Stealer cult aberrants. They need a bit more like posability and weapon options for them to be really good, but I like how monstrous or not as monstrous you can make them. The rest of the stuff from 8th edition, it's just characters. Monopose characters. Not a fan of the monopose stuff. Jackal Bikers, I've never been a massive fan of bikes and vehicles. I like the Acolytes generally. Acolyte box set is good. As an individual model, I mean, there's nothing that leaps out as like, yes, this is the best thing ever. I think the Biophagus, though I'm not a fan of the Biophagus generally, that's a really cool model. Locust gets negative points because if you take away the icon, you can't tell that it's a Genestealer cult. Clamavus does not get points because the Clamavus should not exist. The Primus looks pretty cool. They've got the 3 arms, and because they're such a... Yeah, this is obviously a Genestealer cult model with multiple arms, with a mining suit. You know, it's not a full Genestealer with 4 arms, it's got 3 arms. That's why it became the 10th edition Codex cover for the Genestealer cult. I think the Patriarch looks alright. Pretty cool Patriarch. But Aberrants, I like them. And it's probably the Primus, although I've never looked at them and gone like, yes, you are my favourite. What about Sisters of Battle? Sisters of Battle models. Happy 21st birthday. Yep, just keep going with 21. Always again the 21. It's not the Nundums. It is so not the Nundums. No. I like Avaline. Avaline looks kind of cool. I think the flames on the sword are a bit much. The Palatine is awkward with the 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot off the ground, and needs a sword. Dogmata, I think you're trying to force a chaplain on people. The Novitiators a box set I really like for their kit bash ability. Seraphim are a pain to build. So many of them are just pain to build. And that is so annoying. There's nothing where I'm like, hey, this scratches all of the itches. This does everything. It's probably the metal models. I liked a lot of the metal models. Like Metal Sister Superior for the Seraphim. Oh yeah, just Battle Sister Superior, 2nd edition, holding an icon and a bolt gun. That's what I want. That is the best one. Let me just get the Lexicanum file and put it in chat so I can tell you which one exactly I mean. That one. That Sister Superior is my favourite Battle Sister model. They don't sell it anymore, and you can't really find it anywhere, but I have it, and it's great. That is the best model. So I really like the metal ones. When they made the plastic ones, they were mostly copying like, oh yeah, we had this pose in the metal models, so hey, what if we just remade that, or you can remake that in plastic. You like the female Magos? Female Magos, it's fine. It's fine. I think I prefer the male Magos actually for looking more. This is what I think of as Genestealer cult, but my idea of Genestealer cult is more the 2nd edition, 1st edition stuff, where it's a weird thing of like, yeah, it's culty robes, extra obviously culty robes, man in a robe, that sort of thing. Ooh, you like the Abominant? I don't know. I don't like the little dude following the Abominant around. I don't know how I feel about the clothes, which is basically a denim overalls. Like she's an American farm girl kind of look. I don't think that's quite perfect, but generally, if you had an Abominant in a spacesuit, now that would look good. That would be really fun. Like a bigger spacesuit. Think of the Genestealer cult Acolytes. Slightly bigger suit, but then massive arms. We're looking like ogre size. Like Ogren. Ogren sized. Ah, thank you for birthday monies. Love the birthday monies. That's appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not even Morwen Val? No, not really, because the whole... I mean, it's better than the other Nundums, the Paragon Warsuits. It's... No, it doesn't look right, because I don't think how a person would fit inside that suit and it still look normal. Yeah, it doesn't look quite right. I can... As much as I dislike Centurions, and you know I dislike Centurions, at least you can see from the back how the Space Marine fits into the armor. You can't do that with the Adeptus Sororitas models. Oh yeah, the Exorcist is the greatest vehicle in 40k history, no doubt, absolutely no doubt. There is nothing better. Like, oh, what about the Fortress Arrogance? No. What about a Gorkonaut? No. What about a Titan? Haha, no. Not unless you put a church organ on top. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Necromunda Ganger heads can work pretty well for sisters. If you don't want all of the same haircut, that can work. Yeah. Oh yeah, Centurions working into Obliterators can be good. I remember the really old metal Obliterators on a 25mm base with huge cannons of like a face. My mouth is a cannon, and I must scream. Oh. Triumph is not fun to build. All of the cherub things get in the way, and you have to decide, how much of those are we going to have or not have. The grot tanks are really enjoyable. I like the grot tanks. Oh, the old obliterators were horrible, yes. But yeah, they were recognizable. Like the raptors at the same time were metal and awful and had like fleshy wing bits as well, because they were all like Night Lords. The Night Lords were the poster child of like the 3rd edition Chaos Space Marines. Oh, I'm a really grumpy vampire because I don't like the Nundums. Well, I just have opinions. It's my birthday, so my opinions are correct. For your next tournament, Zerota, you're taking your Craft World Eldari. How do I feel about Eldari? Now that the rules are not as oppressive, I think they're fine to play against. Fighting the Avatar of Cain, though, that is a monster. It's awful to try and take down. I got close, but then, didn't manage. But yeah, they're not as awful anymore. They're quite fun to play against, quite fun to play as. I have some Craft World Eldar. Mainly Guardians, because I think Guardians are super cool and fun. Just when you have like, here's a civilian, we've given them a gun. Yes, they are better than your elite soldiers. Why, yes, of course we are the superior people. What's the army I own that's my least favorite? I mean, I have a bunch of bits of different armies. Like, you couldn't really call them a complete army. Like, I have Tyranids, and they're fine. They're okay. They work. I have a bunch of Necrons, and they're also fine. I can live with the Necrons. They're okay. I have some Tau. But none of them are like, oh yeah, I want to make more of an army of this, or make it a functioning army. So they exist, but they're not like, yeah, I don't really play with them on the regular. I like the second metal obliterators. The bigger, bulkier ones on the 40mm base. Yes. Yeah, they were alright. They were alright. Kane is in the list, and I'm using a Farseer to make him -1 to wound. Very nice idea. When I've played against people, they've had a Farseer just hiding behind a building, running after the Avatar, so that you can always have one of your, not miracle dice, fate dice, turn into a 6, and you just pass an armor save on the Avatar, or you do Overwatch with the Avatar, and then you get sustained hits because you rolled a 6, and you hit on your Overwatch, and you do a bunch of damage. I do remember the Metal Necron Pariahs. They were also pretty awful to build, because that's so... the contact points were so small, the arms would just fall off like every game. When I was playing against people, they would just put the arms on the base, or they would blue tack them, just use a little adhesive and put them on the base. So it'd be like, yep, it's there. I'll glue it on at some point. They glue it on, it'd come off later. So finding an alternate way to do it. I mean, the Necron Warriors were really good. Just gotta change it up. Maybe give them a poleaxe or something. Oh, 10th edition Avatar of Cain one-shotting a Land Raider. Nasty. I mean, my Avatar of Cain is the metal one. The kind of small Dreadnought size. And when I say Dreadnought size, I mean Boxnaught Dreadnought sized Avatar of Cain. So it's a bit deceptive on how, like, powerful it is. Basically the same base size as the new one. But it's, big. Not big. Not big. Deceptively powerful. Because it's small. Comes up and just slaps you. He's like, I'd fight you with my mighty Catan. Yeah, I'll beat you with the Avatar. My little Avatar. Necron Prize I like as a concept. Necron Prize I like as a completed model. It was just the models were so annoying to keep together. Thank you. Happy birthday. You've been one of my favorite 40k YouTubers to watch. Birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday for tomorrow. Good for you. Aging slowly. Death getting nearer. Yeah. Gotta keep it light. Keep it light, Christian. One annoying thing about the big metal models is running and all the weight being put on a spindly ankle. Oh, it was such a problem. Generally the metal models. Once you got them into plastic, so much better. We should have just had, hey, you know these metal kits? Just make them in plastic. And make them multi-part, multi-pose, so we can do dynamic things with them, and they would look great. Imagine Space Marine Tactical Squad, but really big, and that's your monster. And then you can customize the weapons and options and things. Yeah. Would I say that Miracle Dice or Fate Dice are better? See, at the start of the edition, then Fate Dice were definitely way better. And I had chats with Proxy Hammer, who is an Eldar expert, all about the Fate Dice and the Miracle Dice. I think now Miracle Dice have gotten better because we get more of them through the game. Starting with 6 doesn't do you that much. Thank you for that amount of money. If that was meant to be like £9.30, just let me know and I can sort that out. But thank you for that. That's a lot of monies. You've got hold of a metal 2nd edition Abaddon. That is a fun model. Is it worth trying to paint him up to match any other Chaos Space Marines? Or to try and field him or paint him fancy, like however you want? Well, either way really. Yeah, I don't know if you want to put him on like a diorama base to make him look big and impressive, because otherwise he's on a 25mm base and he will fall over, and when he falls over, his hand of Horus will come off. So you got to be like really good when you put them together. So yeah, his arms do come off really easily. So I think a bit of blue tack and then super glue together is the best way to do it. Or you have really strong magnets. Or you can try and drill pin them together. Yeah, that's probably how you've got to do it. That's how I had to do like metal dragons, where the weight of the wings pulls the model back, but the wings are what you kind of lift the model by, because you can't lift it by the body, because the body isn't the main weight part. It's the legs, which are tiny and also metal. So pinning things, yes. Using a drill bit, just drill into the wrist, drill into the arm, and then I just used like a clipped off part of a paperclip. Whatever length you need, cut off a bit of paperclip, put it in. Guitar wire also works. Stick that in with super glue, and then it should hold a bit better, but you'll need to do that. I would maybe paint him up looking really awesome and fancy, because that's how it works in 2nd edition. Really bright sword, you could do it insanely bright blue with like super bright blue at the edges, like really light highlights. The claw could be more orange, you could do like a contrast through that. You don't have to do him in Black Legion armor, you could do him much brighter, you could try whatever, you know, the quality of painting you can do, you can really go to town on that model. The 2nd edition models, when they're done in that bright 2nd edition style, look great. Or you can just go with, you know, paint him to match up the rest of your Chaos Space Marines. And then you could use him as a Chaos Lord by himself on a sort of 32mm base. That is an option. Or put him on some big diorama base, and then you can run him as Abaddon. However you want to do it. But I would go with the fun paint scheme. Whatever you think is more fun as a paint scheme to do. If it's going to be like, oh, it'll be tedious and take me 3 months to paint this one model, then don't go for the crazy scheme. Go for something that just matches what you've done and what you know by routine. Yeah, that's what I would go for. Yeah, we do seem to be having like crazy point changes across the different balance patches. I think it's toned down quite a lot now. So when the next balance patch comes out, which should be the end of October, they were a bit late in the last one, but assuming they follow 3 months, which they should, people were like, hey, how come the balance patch isn't like this week? Well, they've only had 2 months of data, and we've had 2 codexes in that time. So you've got only a few weeks of tournaments and none of them major, and that's what Games Workshop uses as their data points. So they're going to want another month of data before they can figure things out. Yes. Oh yeah, the old Metal Lord of Change was not good. No, I saw that once. It had no arms. And they were like, I can't get the arms to stay on. And I was like, that is fair and valid. Back in the day, you saw a lot of metal models that just didn't have arms. and that was standard. They were like painted alright, but they would not stay together. Metal models were fine if they're a 25mm sister. 28mm scale on a 25mm base. Yeah. What do I think of the recent competitive success of the Outlander Claw? It's a weird way of playing 40k. It's about blocking the enemy in the deployment zone and board control. You have no massive, like, offensive damage. You're just holding on to things. And that works. You got neophytes that were in trucks. Maybe they were not in the truck at the start of the game. They get in the truck has good objective control. If the truck gets destroyed, then they spill out and now there's more objective control on the objective. But it's a different way of playing to completely, like, what you think of as 40k, where you kill the enemy. You don't kill the enemy. You just board control. And that is how you run that list. Because lots of the stratagems are very defensive. Like, oh, it's -1 to hit, or it's an invulnerable save on a tank or vehicle. Things like that, and you don't really need to go that far into the bikes. 1 or 2 squads of the bikes is enough. Then you go for the vehicles instead. Yeah, so it's a weird way of doing it. Weird way of doing it. But it's optional. Sisters are probably going to get hit hard with points. Yeah, I think Dominions especially. Retributors shouldn't. Regular Battle Sisters shouldn't. Because I think if they make Dominions 10 points more, then people will be a bit more of a choice of like, do we still go for Dominions or do I have just regular Battle Sisters? I think regular Battle Sisters are really good. Sacrosanct should get a points drop. Because they're not being taken in Bringers of Flame or really any detachment. Because they're a combat one, and the only combat detachment is the Penitent Host, and it doesn't work for them. Khorne Terminator is getting a big points hike. Maybe. I haven't really gone through everything and gone like, this needs a points change. I mean, I've done a how to fix the Genestealer Cult Codex. Not a lot of that was about points. Some of it was. Just a little bit. I could do a how to fix sisters, but when we're doing so well in the metagame, like local level and tournament level, it feels a bit mean to be like, here's how to make it better. Five-minute epoxy is definitely one good way of doing it. Yeah, just hold it there. It's always the amount of times it's been like, yeah, this is going to be my whole night. I need to find something to watch on telly because it turns out I'm just going to be doing this same thing for the whole day. Holding metal models together until hopefully the arms go on, and then I take my hands away and find I've glued the arm to my finger. That's just how the metal models work. Oh dear. What changes will I make to the main rules of 40k? How about I do a video on that? How about I do a video on that in the coming week? That's the plan. You want something quick? Then Overwatch really needs to change. One way of doing Overwatch is like boarding actions does it, where you do an action your turn, and then in the following turn you can shoot because you didn't shoot in your turn. So you shoot in someone else's turn. Or you could try and make it 2 command points, because right now, Battle Sisters are just awful at 1 command point for Overwatch. Dominions are firing twice every battle round. No other unit is doing that. Really nasty. People are running, what, 30 bikes or 30 Khorne Terminators? Oh, 30 Khorne Terminators. That would be in the, we're calling it the demon list, which isn't actually the demon word bearers list. Yeah, Terminators. Oh, metal. Now I'm thinking of it. Metal models are a pretty awful thing of the past. Having plastic everything's has been so much better. Which is why when you look at the like Eldar range, it's like, oh hey, all of these models are still metal. What's happening? Why are they still so bad? Except they went to resin and yeah, they're working through the resin. Plastic is just better. Resin is definitely worse. The amount of bubbles you got. I was there for the whole fail cast where they did things in fine cast resin. It's like, hey, it's going to be so much better. No. And I see things where people 3D print models and they also have little bubble marks. And it's like, oh, maybe I would just pay the extra £1 and get a Space Marine model. Like an actual plastic one from Games Workshop. One of the flaws of like, oh, you have to do 3D printing really well and have a good 3D printer, which is expensive, know how to do it, do some test things. It can be quite expensive to do 3D printing cheaply. I should probably also talk about that this week. Used to work at a hobby store where one night the resident that guy managed to glue the Warhammer Fantasy Chaos Dragon to his finger. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame when you have to do it. You have to be good at... Like, 3D printing is a whole nother hobby on top of the hobby, and it's a skill in itself. It's like painting. You can get someone to do it for you for money, but at that point, it's gonna want to be a friend, and they're gonna be doing, like, a bunch of the same thing anyway. Like, oh yeah, I was doing 10 Space Marines Black Templar models for the... What are the elite Black Templar guys called? Them ones, the elite ones, the ones that are not Blade Guard, but they're like their own version of Blade Guard. Doing a bunch of them, like, hey, I've done a 10 of them. Yeah, could you also do me a 10 of them? Then it's just copy paste and doing them from the same block. That's fine. It's just when you're trying to do it yourself. 3D printing is always going to have marks where the spots attach. Yeah, I mean, sort of sprues do as well, which is where you've got to make sure that when you're doing it with 3D printing, you put it to the bases of the feet, or like the joins, assuming you're going to have joins and not just do one solid model, which is how a lot of people try and do 3D printing. It's an option. Ooh, if I could only add one Legends unit back into my armies with a shiny new Games Workshop sculpt and rules, what would it be? Legends. Oh, let's have a look at the Legends units. I mean, we haven't got much for the... I could do Crusaders for, like, either Imperial Agents or Sisters of Battle, but I don't think I'd want that. Agents of the Imperium probably has the most Legends thing. No, it's going to be Space Marines. Absolutely Space Marines. A plastic Inquisitor Karamazov wouldn't be too bad. I would like that. There's no real reason to update Kill Team Cassius. You could do a Primaris Deathwatch squad, but I don't think we need it. Damned Legionnaires would be alright. What else we got? Let's have a look at the Space Marine stuff. What's in Space Marine Legends? A lot of it, unfortunately, has technically got an updated version. It's just a Firstborn previous, now Primaris version. I really liked an Assault Squad, but we have an Assault Squad on foot. That's the Assault Intercessors on foot. What about Assault Marines with jump packs? Well, that is Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Attack Bikes sort of had an update. Land Speeders have sort of had an update. That's the problem with all the Space Marine stuff. It's going to be a weird Primaris thing that looks potentially more Eldar. We still have the Boxy Dreadnoughts, which I like. Scout Snipers could be done. That is an option. Thunderfire Cannon. We could do a Thunderfire Cannon, but in actual plastic. Vanguard Veteran Squad. But the Vanguard Veteran Squad generally might want an update, but then they'll do a Primaris version and it'll come in a box of 3 rather than a box of 5. And it'll just be Blade Guard Veterans with jump packs. And there'll be 3 of them with swords and shields and jump packs. Yeah, it's a problem when it's Space Marines. Could do Chaos Space Marines. What have we got in the Chaos Space Marine range? Hey, what about a plastic Cortez model for 40k? That's an idea. What if we had one of them and it looked good? Cultist mob with firearms. Oh, is that technically a Legends unit? It's been marked as a Legends unit. That's good. Don't think they necessarily need a new one. What if we had Rogue Psychers? We could do just a Cultist Rogue Psyker. Just the one of them. In a nice new model. Games Workshop loves their character models. They could do that. Hey, you could give us Doom Rider. Chaos Lord on a bike. That's an option. Or anything on a Steed of Slaanesh. You could just do that for the Emperor's Children. Here's your Steed of Slaanesh, Lord. Negavolt Cultists, they're fine. Renegade Ogrins, ooh, potentially. I was going to look at Leagues of Votann Legend stuff, but there's nothing there for them. Otherwise, mostly we're looking at like really big monster things. Oh, Astra Militarum. There must be something good in Astra Militarum Legends. Storm Chimera is still there. Earthshaker platform. I mean, that looks like an actual artillery piece. I just don't like artillery pieces in 40k. Much as I don't like flyers. And anti-flyer stuff. It's alright. I mean, you could have some of the flyers look nice. Centaur Light Carrier, no. Death Corps Grenadier Squad. Which hopefully they do if they're saying something Krieg 2025. Maybe December 2025. But Krieg Death Corps Grenadiers. Or we get the Elysians. Have an Elysian drop Sniper Squad. Elysian drop Sentinel. Yeah, they could work. That's what I'd like to see. Bring in some of the cool Imperial Guard regiments. The Marauders Super Airplane. Ooh. Bring back the real Creed. Absolutely an option. Games Workshop won't do Sniper Scouts because of Eliminators. Yes, I suppose they already have their own updated thing. Cole would never steal Xenotech from the filthy Eldar. It's the Grav stuff where it's like, it's fine when Ark and Land does it for a speeder. It's a bit more weird when you put it on a massive tank. What else have we got? Bring back the Lehman Russ Annihilator? Could do. Ooh, a Solar Auxiliary. I was going to say Lord Solar Macarius, but we have a new Lord Solar, and he's on a horse. Yeah, conscripts. Yeah, a conscript box being like, actually looking like conscripts, not just, here's an Imperial Guard squad. They've got las guns. Don't build them wrong with any special weapons like grenade launchers. But yeah, conscripts would be nice. I hope my internet holds up. My internet's been a bit weird and flickery, like, oh, it's gonna suddenly go off. It's been okay today and yesterday, but if I disappear, if it all crashes, that is just gonna be the end of the stream. Because I won't be able to get it working again for a while. But we should be fine, we should be fine. Yeah, conscripts would be good. Conscripts would be good. Will I do battle reports and live paint-alongs? Well, I kind of paint whatever I fancy at the time. And my painting is not like proper good quality painting. When I do a stream, I prefer to do the stream and talk to you like this. This is what I would do. Even without a Kill Team trailer going on in the background. Like we've had several other times. Oh yeah, blowing themselves up kind of bombers from first edition would be good. Yeah. And that would work for Genestealer Cult as well. There's your new unit for Genestealer Cult. Primaris Devastator Squad. Getting rid of the Missile Desolation Squad? Yeah, it's an option. Potentially an option. But I like the blowing themselves up kind of thing. That could work. Genestealer Cult would love that. You just say it's an Imperial Guard thing. Nope. Genestealer Cult have it in every list. Every single list. I know it's an Imperial Guard unit, but yeah. You could just have that in the Genestealer Cult, as the Brood Brothers would. So I can't see myself doing paint-alongs because my painting is not the focus of the channel. I did like a painting conversion video and people were like, that looks perfectly fine. Others were like, yeah, that's bad. Stick to what you know, which is rules and how to do fun things. It was fine. I could show off my Space Marine Captain with lightning claws. I've now almost finished that model. But I'd rather like the streams be about the stream, not about the painting. And battle reports are so hard to do properly. I would end up just getting out the Battleotron and doing a battle report that way, which I could do, but it's hard to do that in like 40 minutes because that's a skill to try and get the time to say, okay, I've taken loads of pictures, I've slowed down the game so that we make sure we're doing everything right. Then you need to speed it up again and be like, just do the narrative stuff and not do the dice rolls apart from the really cool dice rolls. I wouldn't want it to end up like a Games Workshop battle report though. They can be odd. But they're small. Most of their battle reports that they do on their Warhammer Plus channel, which I've looked over people's shoulder to watch, they are fine. They're like, here's 1,000 points, here's 500 points. We're using this mission from the White Dwarf, which is really good. We're using a combat patrol and doing like a cool battle in combat patrol mode. that can work rather than 1,000, 2,000 points, usually 2,000 points of people you see, and then you're like, I'm not quite sure what's going on in this battle report because it's half an hour long for a game that lasted in real time 4.5 hours with the pausing and the rules checking and the taking pictures and stuff. So probably won't be doing many, if at all, battle reports. How old in centuries or millennia am I? Oh dear. It can just be decades old. Not every vampire was made in 1827. Otherwise I'd be 194 years old. Every vampire was made at a different time. You know how, like, people are made at different times? It's not all like, this is the one time vampires are made. Every vampire is ancient or a sparkly teenage boy. And I'm not a sparkly teenage boy. But I'm just decades old, not centuries. Am I allowed to do lore readings due to copyright? Not particularly. If you ever want to, like, read a book, then you've got to get the author's permission to do it. If it's a book still in print, I don't know quite how it works with books out of print. I know that you're like, hey, what if I read the 2nd edition codex to people? But then Games Workshop and IP can be a whole weird thing. So lore readings, people tend to just read the lore from a wiki. I'm not saying it's a cheap and easy hack to get loads of views, but if you want to make a Space Marine lore channel and just read from the wiki and read a new Space Marine chapter every week, that can work pretty well for you. Just not what people expect from me, because I have knowledge of the actual tabletop game. And I'm sure that the Space Marine 2 thing, where we're getting people who don't know anything about it and want to learn a bit about it and do a little bit of lore, they'll come and go. Most people that were playing Space Marine 2 were 40k fans already. Maybe some of them came in from Helldivers. But they're not necessarily going to stick around and look at all of the lore stuff and then start playing the tabletop stuff. Because Auspex Tactics was saying recently, like, 40k VTuber, I can't do his voice. 40k YouTubers have suddenly got a boost in their views from all of the Space Marine 2 stuff. No, people who do Tyranids and Space Marines, and maybe if you do Thousand Suns, you got a boost in your views. No one else did. It's just been the same as normal. If there were Battle Sisters or a Gene Stealer cult in the game, then hey, we're cooking with whatever the kids say they're cooking with. Then it's good. But not everyone's sticking around for past, like, Space Marine 2. How many pickles? Is that meant to say how many pickles do I own? What is going on? Anyway, I'm a vampire, why are you convinced to play Blood Angels 2? I mean, the wings look so cool. Yeah, they are pretty cool. Of the Space Marine chapters, they are definitely up there as one of the best ones. When it comes to divergent chapters that are not the Death Watch, I think they are the best divergent chapter. Better than the Dark Angels, better than the Space Wolves, better than the Grey Knights. They have a cool thing of, like, the nobility of it, but then also, yeah, there's a kind of dark violence behind here. It's like creepy men's, yeah, it's, you know, vampire stuff. Night Lords are better vampires? No, they don't want to be vampires. They want to be Batman. They're like, look at me, I'm Batman, but I murder people and I do it in a horrific way because I think that horror-based punitive justice is gonna work. And I don't think it ever does work out for them in any of the books. Like, oh, is that a compliant world? Is it though? Because then a bunch of them rebel against them. And it's like, yeah, as soon as we stopped hanging people from their eyeballs, then suddenly they started rebelling and being like, we hate the way that you keep skinning our children. Please stop doing that. We're gonna have to rebel. They have fun while they work. Do they? Because they seem to, like, never enjoy it. It's always like, oh, it's just part of the job. You know, I'm doing my 9 to 5. Cutting this person apart and taking their organs and splaying them out in a chaos symbol. The Blood Angels have fun with their whole defenders of humanity and fighting back all of the things and getting help from the Corn Demons and the Necrons to fight the Tyranids. Blood Angels are good. I almost was tempted back in like 2014 by the Space Marine Tactical Squad with Blood Angels upgrade because it looked really good. But I never got it. I was like, yeah, I have 40 Tactical Marines from various editions. I think it's actually more now. I think it might be 50 or 60 Tactical Marines. I don't need more. The 3rd edition lore about Night Lords was great because the 3rd edition focused so much on the Night Lords. It was like, this is the Night Lords poster edition. And then 4th edition, they moved to Black Legion. 5th edition, that was when I think they went to Huron Blackheart and like the Red Corsairs. They're like, ah, yeah, we'll do something more with the Renegades. Then 6th edition, it was like Renegades, but now it's the ones from the starter set. Crimson Slaughter? I think they were the Crimson Slaughter. Yeah, which is like, okay, yeah, we have Marines, we have Chosen, we have Possessed, we have Cultists. We do a slightly different mix, but we are like Renegades. Very fun. Why does Games Workshop put the Death Cult Assassin to Legend and then in Rogue Trader they make a whole DLC story? Well, that is because when you buy the what was a former Kill Team Rogue Trader, you get a Rogue Trader model, an AdMech guy, a Rejuvenant Adept, which is a medic, and you get a Death Cult Assassin. So that's the Death Cult Assassin they want you to buy. That plastic Death Cult Assassin. Whereas the metal Death Cult Assassins, they were ones that they... Thank you, Alex, for subscribing. Thank you. They were ones that like, yeah, it's metal, and we don't want to make a new one because 2 models is a little bit unbalancing for the game, and they don't quite suit going around in mobs of 5 or 10, and they're not quite on the cool power level of the like Vindicare Assassin and the Caluxus Assassin. They're not at that level. So they would at best be, yeah, it's a cheap points version of it. That was about it. I think it's probably a bit too expensive as a DLC, but it's another romanceable character if you want. And if you want to have a Death Cult Assassin, they'll probably get along with the Sister of Battle character. If my opponent plays Green Tide with all 120 boys, in order to get an edge, how many of their models can I eat before they notice? Well, if you're going to be eating orcs, it's a vegetarian and vegan compatible diet, so that works because they are a fungus. I would say you can probably get away with eating like 2 models from every squad. That's like 10% of each squad, because they are in squads of 10 or 20 now. They stopped the 30 boys. Just gonna double check that they stopped the 30 boys. I think they did. Orcs, orc boys. I haven't played against the Green Tide. I will do at some point. Maybe before Christmas. Someone has said like, oh, I'll do you a good Green Tide game. Awesome. It is, yeah, maximum 20 models. So 10% of them can be eaten before they notice. So that's 2 orcs from each squad. Because there was a short-lived tactic to avoid one of the Pariah Nexus secondary missions, which was if you're killing a horde of like 20 models, then you get loads of victory points. So for a very short time, they were they were taking squads of like 19 boys. So it just doesn't really impact the unit too much. But also now you can't take that secondary. Then they changed it to say, if the points value of your unit is equal to the points value if there were 20 of them in the squad, then it also works for the secondary. And people are like, okay, well, I'll just take 20 boys. Yeah. Thank you for the happy birthday message. Thank you. My hat is staying on surprisingly well. I couldn't get it to get like fixed properly. It was attaching like the front of my hair and then flinging off. But now I can like flop my head around quite a bit and it stays on. I'm liking that. Plastic is made from dead dinosaurs, so you're eating meat. Kind of. It depends if you're thinking in lore accurate terms for when you're chewing, or if you're just tasting the plastic. Right. Oh, what is advice for new players? Oh, I think I have like a vague script going on for this one. New players. Problems with new players. How to help some new players. What have we got? You want to pick a faction, which, you know, you could do Space Marines, like vampires in power armor. They're very nice. But then you don't want to buy a horde if you're a new player. I really don't recommend hordes like Imperial Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Gene Stealer Cult, because it's a lot more models you need to start the game. Yeah, the Custodes are probably a good place to start, sort of. I mean, you probably want Space Marines like Grey Knights, they can work. The rules in 10th edition are a lot easier to understand psychic powers, so Grey Knights are not like an insurmountable hurdle for someone new. You don't need many models for Custodes, you don't need to paint them too well for Custodes. You'll want to get discounts, so you know, there's affiliate links you can go through, I think they're in the description. You don't need to paint them that well, and tend to go like easy on the rules when you start. Start small in your games, because the amount of space you've got to remember all of the rules is kind of small. The amount of rules to remember, it's a lot of rules. So many rules. Yeah. Or you could play a different game entirely. That's also an option. But buy second-hand models. There's nothing wrong with buying second-hand models. You can then convert them and repaint them to be yours. Don't buy Games Workshop terrain. Make your own. I mean, considering tournaments these days, a lot of them are like, yeah, well, everyone uses the T-shapes and the squares and things, so we just got some cardboard boxes and made terrain. I'm like, I've paid like £20 to enter this tournament. It looks awful. We're just playing on a generic green piece of cloth with cardboard. This is bad. Please do better, tournament people. Even if it's not exactly to the tournament standards of what Games Workshop wants from terrain to make it fair and equal, doesn't matter. You can have nice things and also relatively fair games. And start slow. Yeah. The Custodes are hard to play well. Yes. Yeah, they are. But it's an easy army to get into. And then you'd be like, okay, I understand generally how the game works. I can actually pick my real army. Or it depends how much time you want to spend thinking about your army. And like, oh, I really like that model, but how many of that model am I going to have to make? If it was like, here's Gene Stealer Cult, really, really awesome army, I do suggest playing Gene Stealer Cult. But then you're going to need 40 acolytes. How many acolytes do you want to get? Ooh, next question. Is the Castigator a violation of the Holy Trinity of Bolter, Melter, and Flamer? No, I think the Castigator's alright. Sure, it has the massive cannons, but it also comes with 3 heavy bolters, so it's very much in the realm of the Holy Trinity stuff. It's not plasma weapons. I suppose you can think of the big cannons as just an even bigger bolt weapon. That's fine. Auto cannons, battle cannons, yeah, they're alright. It's a big bolt gun. That's how you think of it. If you accidentally 3D printed a bolt gun too big, put it on a turret, there you go. There's your Castigator. Yeah, and yeah, Space Marines probably are the cheapest to start with, even compared to Custodes. But 15 Custodes is 1,000 points. You're going to need 40 Marines to be 1,000 points. Depends if you get tanks. Depends what kind of tank. Depends if the tanks fly. eBay depends on the models. eBay can be quite scalpery nowadays. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't you not need about 40 Space Marines to have 1,000 points? I'm thinking of like Death Watch as well. When I think of a 1,000 point list, it's about 3 or 4 kill teams. Thanks for dropping by, Sindri. Thank you. Have a good day or night, because maybe sleep. Maybe some people will sleep. Maybe some people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and get food because it's the middle of the day and the sun is beating down. Yeah, you can go back to 2nd edition and just spam Terminators. That works. And then you got a nice boarding action set, because there's a Terminator boarding action detachment, so you could try playing boarding actions, which would be a way to play. Yeah. What is this, Sun? It's it's a magazine that you have in the UK, or as you could say, newspaper. Magazine. It's a magazine. That's what the Sun is. Will melter guns be good as an anti-tank weapon in 11th edition? They're probably not going to change them too much, but they should have the anti-tank, anti-monster keyword. We should be merging monsters and tanks and vehicles all together into the same thing and making it like the one keyword for like big monster, big thing, behemoth, or something large. And then it could be good at like actually fighting them. Then, yeah, if they lowered the strength, kept the AP about the same, make it like strength 6, even strength 5, then it's not good at killing individual models, but it would be good at killing tanks. So I don't think melter weapons will be good anti-tank, but they're pretty good anti-tank for what we have. Sort of. You need the Bringers of Flame detachment or a lot of Miracle Dice to make it work for Battle Sisters. But with enough melter guns, you can absolutely do it. You can absolutely do it with the melter weapons. What type of lists are your favorite to play against and as? Generally things that don't have vehicles, because vehicles, if you have too many vehicles, if it's like Imperial Knights and your army is all vehicles, that can just stop people from playing. Even if you're like, hey, my entire army has lethal hits against vehicles, like you're playing the Tyranids in the invasion fleet. Okay. You wound on 6s and you have no armor penetration. They have a 2+ or 3+ save and 1,000,000 wounds. You're not going to be fighting the vehicles. Yeah, so 12 Dreadnought list is a little bit naughty. What, 3 Box Naughts, 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, 3 Brutalis Dreadnoughts, 3 Ballistis Dreadnoughts? Yeah, that's a little bit nasty. Depends on the kind of Dreadnought. That's sometimes cope. You can sometimes cope with that. But the amount of anti-tank needed, you're probably going to go, okay, I give up on fighting you. I'm just going to go for board control and then hope that the game isn't too tedious. I assume if you're doing that list, you're doing Ironstorm detachment. Oh yeah, you could also use the Horus Heresy Dreads. It depends if it's like a tournament list. Is 12 Dreadnoughts. Knights are also a thing, yeah. So fighting, not necessarily hordes, but a lot of infantry with some elite infantry tends to be pretty fun. The amount of games that have been like, I challenge my infantry platoons of Imperial Guard with, you know, Ogrins or something against your Orc Horde, which isn't quite a horde because it's got knobs and maybe some light vehicles, like very light vehicles, like got tank levels of light vehicles. That's kind of fun. Yeah, tournaments are kind of, they're a take it or leave it kind of thing. They're optional. Teacup makes me sound like such a British vampire. Well, of course it is, because I am. So I have my cup and my saucer. Yeah, so I like infantry focused kind of games. They're really good. Some light vehicles, some small monsters, the kind of things that they, what Games Workshop panders to British vampires or Games Workshop panders to tournaments. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But light monsters are alright. Like a Psychophage can be fine in small games. I mean, even like a Biovore, Pyrovore, that's fine. Some of the characters, if you had them by themselves, have 6 wounds. That's not too, but that's manageable. I mean, a Necron Lord with a 2+ save, 6 wounds, and yeah, I have -1 to all damage. That can be really tough to take out. Carnifex. A Carnifex would be fine. Like 1, maybe 2 Dreadnoughts that are the regular Boxnaut Dreadnoughts and not I am -1 damage Redemptor Dreadnought. Could be fine. Yes, yes. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you. It's been a good birthday. I mean, I get to talk about 40k and play some little bits of 40k. Just some. I did like a Deathwatch Overkill game, and it's really enjoyable. Like, maybe I should get back into that. Yeah, Screamer Killers are okay. Screamer Killers They need to get into the right unit to do the most murdery stuff. I do remember back in the day when there was heavy support choice limits, but then so much of the things were like, this dreadnought is elites, this dreadnought is heavy support, and you'd end up with 6 dreadnoughts still in an army. It was weird how some of it could work. Like, they'd say, oh yes, the Redemptor Dreadnought, that's an elite. Ballistus Dreadnought, that's heavy support. Brutalis Dreadnought, oh, that's an assault. Like, Fast Attack Dreadnought? No. Yeah, so you'd still probably end up with 6 Dreadnoughts. I don't know if I'm like the disappearance of that, like, force organization chat or not. It was good at mitigating some of the worst excesses. Or maybe you could get... But also things were pretty nasty. I do like the whole... Oh, thank you, VTuber fan, for saying happy birthday. You have such an appropriate name. Nice of you to stop by. Fast Attack Hellhounds, yep. Then the weird way that Imperial Guard platoons worked at various times, where some of the squads didn't take up troops choices, and you could have Sentinels there, which weren't any kind of choice. And heavy weapon squads, which were heavy support, except they also weren't because they were free. Battle line unlocks 2 of any other unit? Ooh, maybe, but then some people have some really weird battle line units. It's an option. But I do like the way they've got, hey, okay, detachments, you don't have to go like hard into something, but if you did, then you get some bonuses. It can be okay. Iron Storm keeps being really mean to try and play against when it's like, yeah, everything is tanks, and also all my tanks are good. There are similar detachments for other factions. Although the Orc one isn't too bad, the Speed Freaks, they're fast, there are also lots of light vehicles. Thoughts on Leagues of Votann? They need more units if they're going to be their own army. Otherwise, I could see like Leagues of Votann being a nice mercenary set. Like, hey, they are unaligned, so you could also add in the Zote, all of the stuff from like Blackstone Fortress, the Urguls, Beastmen, they could be in there. There's an option to take like, here's the mercenary version, Kroot. Kroot could have it like that. Kroot could be like, hey, they are part of a mercenary faction, so you'd have Kroot and Leagues of Votann together. I don't know, it's not too bad. But I also like the idea of, yeah, we have Kroot in the Tau Codex. You could have them in 2 places. We have seen that they do that. Grey Knights, they are in 2 places. Well, Grey Knight Terminators are. Battle Sisters, regular Battle Sisters, they appear in 2 different places. Different rules, slightly different rules. Not just army rules and detachment rules. They can work. The word leaf blower gives PTSD. That was when it was like, yes, Valkyries and dropping things from Valkyries. I think I played against that once, and people in later editions were like, this is meant to be good, this is meant to be so good, I remember this being great, and it just wasn't. Yeah, a Xenos mercenary sort of agents of disorder? Agents for sale? Something like that. It's a way to do it, it's entirely an option. And yes, the Leagues of Votann were just awful in 9th edition. And they got so much hate. And then at the start of 10th edition, I remember them being really awful. Now they're not awful, but they're still not amazing because of their very limited army size. So it's like, oh, well, what if Hearthguard, the regular troops, what if they're not good? You haven't got that many other options. If 2 of your units are not good, like with Genestealer Cult, if 2 of your options are bad, what do? Do you just spam something? Like, Aberrants are not great right now. But do you just max out on Metamorphs instead? Maybe. Maybe you could. Metamorphs are really good right now. I like the Metamorphs. I'm glad that after trying over and over again to get their rules to work at early 10th edition, they do now finally work. Yeah. Hopefully get more models in 11th edition. Hopefully in 10th edition. Because they haven't had their codex yet, so they may do. And it seems like every 2nd, 3rd codex is getting like something big. Whereas the other 2 get 1 new character model, like we saw with Genestealer Cult and Battle Sisters. And Agents of the Imperium. Yeah. I think they'll be one of the last ones to come out in 10th edition, because they've had their Crusade rules in a White Dwarf, which suggests that it's like, yeah, we'll keep you going for now. Or maybe they won't get anything in 10th edition. They're not necessarily going to do every codex in 10th edition and then just make 11th edition, 10th edition compatible, which is what we do for like 7th and 6th edition, 4th and 5th edition, and ideally like 3rd edition also. They were all compatible, very similar set of rules, very similar set of points, especially when they're updating the points over and over again. So an index Leagues of Votann could be around for, you know, 4.5 years, and then they'll get a codex in 11th edition. A Foot Berserker Lord. They don't have Foot Berserker Lord? What do you have in, like... You'll probably just get a Chaos Demon dude. World Eaters. What have the World Eaters got? There's a guy on a Juggernaut, if I remember correctly. World Eaters units. Is there a list somewhere? There must be. I haven't got too much. I really don't have too much. What's the image showing? You've got Khan the Betrayer. Well, there you go. You've got Khan Betrayer. There's your Lord on foot. That's probably the only one you've got. Otherwise, it's Demon Prince. Oh, you got the Executioner, who sort of is a Lord, but also sort of his own thing. The Master of Executions. Otherwise, yeah, you have a Guard and Juggernaut. And that's all you get. Anything in Legends? Nope, not even anything in Legends. Yeah. Difficult one. But I think they should just have more things from Codex Chaos Space Marines. Like the whole, oh yeah, Chaos Space Marines can take Berserkers in their army, so if you have a Chaos Space Marine army with a few Berserkers, you can keep going as Berserkers. I've been using them last 2 editions as Legionaries with a Mark of Khorne, and that works pretty well. Yeah, just Master of Executions. So they should be able to take from the Chaos Space Marine army. Much as I think the Agents of the Imperium, if you take the Deathwatch detachment, should be able to say, or just any detachment really, ally in a certain number of Space Marine units. Just 1, 2 Space Marine units. 2 Space Marine infantry units. That's all I ask. That'd be fine. And then it doesn't have to be, yeah, you take the kill team version of them, which is probably worse. Will we ever get our Crusaders back? As models? Probably not, because it'd be a weird thing of, well, where do they go and what do they do and how are they different from an Adeptus Arbites with a shield in terms of rules, in terms of role, in terms of function? They probably won't come back. Their rules will still be there in Legends. I mean, it's been a weird thing of like, where do they even go? Are they just part of a Rogue Trader entourage? Yeah, I don't think they would even come back. Maybe in 11th edition they wouldn't even have rules. They'd just be, yeah, these are... I don't know, you can have shields on your Inquisitorial agents, but probably not even that. You would just use them as like Inquisitorial acolytes, agents of the Inquisition, but they're not, but that's what their name is, but they're in the rulebook and it's called the Agents of the Imperium. Oh, there's so many conflicting words on that. I saw that Games Workshop did an FAQ for the Imperial agents, and it was just like, oh yeah, when we were saying that your Imperial acolytes, Inquisitorial acolytes, and your Voidsmen don't take up a slot as long as they're joined by a character, we realized that didn't work in the rules because you make your army list and then you attach characters once you're like starting the game. So now you can just take them and they don't take up a slot, which is nice, you know, extra things. Just you want to have 1 requisition Grey Knight unit, 1 requisition Deathwatch unit, 1 requisition Deathwatch character in 1,000 points, and then you can also have some Voidsmen to take some space, some place you can just stick them on an objective. They objective control 2 or 1? I want to say 2. Everything in like the Agents of the Imperium, like my Imperial Agents army list, has absurdly high objective control. Yeah, they're OC2, they're not battle line anymore. I can live with that. Ah, thank you, Brick Hill. Thank you for saying so. Yeah, there'll probably be some Inquisitor or sidekicks. But they're nice as like, here's some decent objective control people. Because it's so much objective control. The Grey Knights, they're like, oh yeah, they're OC2 standard for Terminators, and then you have a banner which makes them all OC3, and then you put them in the Imperialis Fleet Detachment, and they can become OC4. So there's 20 OC from 5 Terminators that are difficult to shift, and one of them resurrects every turn. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good, those Grey Knight Terminators. And then the Deathwatch Veterans, they're all OC2. Kill Team Cassius is OC2. Yeah, the Voidsmen at Arms, OC2. Imperial Navy Breaches, they're objective control too. It's a very high objective control army. You can just win on objective control. Thank you for the happy birthday messages. I'm wanting to run 60 berserkers. Is that a sign of mental illness? I don't know if it'll do well competitively, but that is fun. Because that's relatively tough to get through. Because they are elite infantry, 2 wounds, 3+ save. So the smallest arms are going to bounce off them. Most of them. You can run at the enemy and target priority will mean you're difficult to stop. Depends if the enemy has plasma cannons. If they have las cannons, hey, you know, you're fine. Then it's okay. But plasma cannons, that'll be where you struggle. Get to that 6+ feel no pain. Yeah, there won't be enough melter weapons to beat you. If you're facing a horde, like you can beat a horde of orcs. Maybe if the orcs charge you though, then they might be AP -2. Although only against some things. Possibly. Possibly. You might be able to cut... You'll definitely be able to cut through some hordes, if they're not combat hordes. Genestealer Cult would not like fighting 60 berserkers. Demo chargers might do a bit more, but we wouldn't like fighting 60 berserkers, if you can be fast enough. I know you get the surge move, but we'll see, we'll see. Let the rise of the 40k VTubers continue. Yeah, Paul is doing quite well. I am getting jealous of Paul's channel. Looking at like all of the deep analytics, we're getting about the same number of views, but I'm putting out 3 or 4 times as many videos as Paul to get to that level. So Paul is doing really well. I'm pleased with Paul. Maybe we can form a VTuber agency together. Just the 40k VTubers. United. But then I would have to run a company. Oh, I don't know if I'd like that. No, Paul is weirdly bad at stuff, but also can fluke his way through quite a lot of things. He did surprisingly well at the tournament, considering the number of Centurions he had. Yes. But we'd see how far Paul goes when he's bad at stuff. It's entertaining to see someone bad at stuff get slightly better at stuff. People like that. Whereas if you're already good at stuff and you tell people how to do things, it's like, you don't know everything, Christian von Carmian. You're not my dad. Wait, are you my dad? Yeah, you're not my dad. It's an alternate way to go. Right, I'm thinking 10 more minutes and then we end stream, because then I'll have been streaming for nearly 3 hours. And that is probably long enough to stream. I know there's some streamers stream for like 10 to 12 hours a day, but they're crazy people who have no personal life. Their personal life is shared entirely with chat. Ooh, you could combine both. You could have 120 jackals and as many berserkers as you can. That's quite a list. Put the jackals in front and have them take the bullets. But maybe don't run 120 jackals, is that the opinion? They have not great objective control. They can do some jobs. They'll die. They're kind of overpriced. Yeah, YouTube gods can be very cruel. Like, hey, here's a lore video from someone reading from the Wikipedia. Have 50,000 views. I'm not going to become a lore channel, though. I'm sticking with what I not only know, but what I'm good at and what people can like from me. Just try and stop me with 120 jackals. We'll see how it goes. Can they get lethal hits? Maybe they can. Maybe they can. Yeah. Jackals are like the support elements, which is a way of doing it. You don't need to have the crazy big stuff. Ah. 2 squads of 10. Yeah, that works. That works. That works. Right, what are the questions that I have? Oh, when it comes to chaos, have I mostly got cultists? This is a very relevant question. Or do I have some heretic Astartes as well? I do have some heretic Astartes. Tease a lore title and hit them with the facts. It's an option. I mean, I could do like, hey, here's how, you know, the Black Rage actually works. And then on the tabletop. There, I'm getting my vampires in, my blood vampires. It's a way of doing it. Yeah, my Chaos Space Marines, I do have quite a few Space Marines. I often run the Space Marines in past editions as chosen because they got more attacks, they were better, they had some good stuff. I don't know about all of the stuff of the 2019 Chaos Space Marine range. It was definitely a we are different to regular Space Marines kind of thing. I was okay with some of the stuff before that. I mean, they're new Possessed. They look bigger for no particular reason. I think they're on like a 50 or 60 millimeter base now, which is odd. Like 32 is fine. 40 is enough. They didn't need to go even bigger. It's alright. It's alright. They definitely went with the more, hey, yeah, we're weird and messed up and demon-y, which can be awkward if you're playing Alpha Legion or Night Lords and you're not going full demon because you don't want to go full demon. That's not how your Legion rolls. Venom Crawlers are fun as a light vehicle. Yeah, that's nice. We don't have Predators necessarily. Defiler. I've never liked the Defiler. Someone said, hey, do you want a free Defiler? And I said no. It's a big, awful thing to store. It's got like the one pose. It doesn't have a base. It's very odd. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the monies. Thank you for the $9.99 US. I'll put out more videos that you can enjoy in future. The flails. Oh, yes, all the flails. I know the Land Raider is older. I like the new 30k Horus Heresy Land Raider that people got in like the Horus Heresy starter set. I think that's a really good one. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the gun's no joke with the battle cannon and the auto cannon and everything else cannon and flails and flamers and stuff. I just really don't like the model. I thought we went too much demon. We're going too far away from the Space Marine stuff. I like the Space Marine stuff. I like the cultist stuff. But my army, as long as there have been rules for cultists, it has been mainly cultists backed up by chosen, like, elite legionaries. So in, like, 6th edition, 7th edition, I used to have chosen just jump out of a rhino and they'd hit you with plasma guns and flamers. And then we'd, if the rules allowed, charge in and had chainswords as well as bolt guns and bolt pistols. It was nice. Yes, very good. What about the little face on the back? Nope, I've seen that. I don't like it either. I'll go as big as Dreadnought. Anything larger and I think we're getting into silly territory of this is hard to store, this is an awkward game piece. I like my games to be small of like general scale. Mobs of infantry is how I like it. Yeah, so I have a custom warband that is like Black Legion, but doesn't necessarily follow Abaddon or Abaddon, whose arms keep falling off, because that's how the metal model worked. Right, I'm gonna go get another cup of tea in a minute. Does anyone have any more Ko-fi donation tips? They're definitely tips, they're not donations. Christian von Carmian is not a charity. Or YouTube tip money, anything that's like, oh, I've been holding it back, or oh, I was gonna do that. I'm assuming that everyone who wanted to already has, though. So I'm gonna wrap up. Any final questions you want to desperately throw out there? It's like, oh, I've been waiting this whole time. I didn't want to interrupt chat, but now I do want to interrupt chat because I want this question answering. What is the question? What do you want to know? And then I'll get to making more videos. Next one should be out tomorrow. I'm working on like several videos at once. It depends how far I can get through different things. But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Oh, Tabletop Simulator is a whole different thing. That could be a video in itself. I don't like it because it takes longer to do like all of the playing stuff. If you want to try out an army, it's good. I like having models in my Warhammer modeling game. And it's a nice way if you don't have money to get the army of your dreams. But that army of your dreams is going to be a copy and paste job on like all of the models. So it can be like, I have the rules army of my dreams. It can get very competitive really quickly. Because some of the barriers to like 3 exorcists and 120 berserkers fighting each other is how long it takes to buy and paint and build all those models. So it's a difficult thing. I wouldn't say like never do it or only play it that way. But it's an option you may want to consider. It is certainly cheaper than 40k generally. Space Marines should be 4 times the point cost, not money, and then you can upgrade them as is on the game. I know, yeah, that's alright. That's alright. There, you got 40 berserkers done. That's a good start towards 120 berserkers. You could just use any model. 60 berserkers. Yeah, 6 squads of 10. That could work. Get them all over the place. That's probably going to work better than as many squads as like 20. Can you do them in squads of 20? I don't think you can. It comes unit of 5 and 10. Oh, I could definitely do a video with fake beef with Paul. That could be good. There we go. Our agency that we put together immediately breaks apart due to creative differences based entirely around centurions. Yeah, 10 models is the most you can have for berserkers. Yeah, it's 10 now. Ultimate clickbait. Fake. I don't know how many people. How many people are going to be like, oh no, I'd have to do it as the downfall of Paul. How Paul, the rise and fall of Paul is bad at stuff. Thank you, Ronja. Thank you for saying so that my model is cute. I appreciate that. I put a lot of time and effort into making the model, so I'm glad that people like it. But yeah, Centurion controversy. Yeah. People like to watch like random things of like, oh wow, I can't believe this YouTuber I have never heard of fell off. Can't wait to find out how Spengel Mengelson has been a completely terrible person to all his friends and is involved in weird things and communities online. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's now 9 o'clock UK time. It's time for me to wind down for the night because technically, you know, with videos and things, I am working tomorrow. This hasn't felt like work though. This has been nice. So, Eric, thank you for that. That's an old one. Sorry. It just randomly popped up on my screen like, Eric is given money. It's like, I think I got that already. Eric is given money. Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. I've had a good birthday. I hope that when you have your birthdays, it is a great birthday. And I hope that you have a great day and night and everything else of 40k.